Dave. Are you born again?
I am. Thank God for his grace.
Yes. Hey, good morning, everyone on Facebook and on our Fresh Black Coffee website.
Yeah.
We thank you for your attention. Yes, it's another beautiful Saturday. Finally, the sun decided to come back out and join us. The rain has been going on and off all week. Actually, a couple of weeks now. Our lawn guy finally came in and decided he had a chance to cut that jungle in my...
Did he bale hay?
Yeah.
When they
really?
bring out the baler,
man. Yeah.
you know, he gets
the lawn will be glad to see the sun. That Bermuda is going to pop probably now. But anyway, as we were discussing all of our things, we were discussing hockey and freedom.
Yes.
First Amendment, the rights and minority ideas and expression starting to be forced on everybody. You see, the whole idea initially was in freedom to protect the minority of thought from being oppressed by the majority of thought.
The mob.
Yeah. But now it's totally been turned upside down.
Yep.
Where now the mob is being threatened by the minority. Yep. So now the majority is at the mercy of the minority of thought. Yep. So, for example, if you have, we have like 1% of the population is transsexual. Yep. or even gay, okay? Truly, what you would truly call gay by birth or by just whatever, is maybe 1 to 2% of the population. Yet now the entire nation is subject to their mercy.
Yep.
Okay. There used to be, we had gotten up to about 18% of the population of the United States of America was black.
Yeah.
And they were oppressed. We were oppressed. Mm-hmm. But now that minority has dwindled. It dwindled actually below 10%. Do you know that? About 2010 or so, we dwindled. It's coming back. I think we're at 13 again now. But it's going to dwindle again because we've taken such an influx of Chinese, and in fact, the Asians now are above 13%. Asians have come in. Hispanics, of course, have exploded. Sure. I think they're about 40% now. Mm-hmm. And so the black population was rising again, but now it's starting to diminish. Yet, if you look at everything on television commercials, the news, the laws, the emphasis on everything, you would think that we're a black nation. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't have as many rights for black people in this country as they do in Africa as we do in this country.
It's true.
And so it's like everything has been turned topsy-turvy. And I'm just waiting for, and it's coming. Let me warn my black brothers and sisters out there. Let me warn you. Once the influx of Hispanic people gets finished in this country, you're done. I mean, it's just, you heard it here first. If you haven't heard it anywhere else, it's coming. The brown people, as they like to call them, which aren't really brown, most of them are white, white Hispanics.
It's true. Okay.
Once they actually get control, they're some of the most racist people in the world. If you go to Mexico City, how many black Mexicans do you see in Mexico City? Mm-hmm. You see them around the border and in these little barrios all around. But you go down to Mexico City in the bigger cities and the where all the money is, you don't see any black Mexicans. They're all the blancos, right? All the white ones.
Yeah.
And the negros, as they call them, you know, which are the mestizos that are mixed Indian and black and all. Those are all the poorer ones. Mm-hmm. But the ones with the money, the power, and everything, it's always been that way. It's always been that way. Yeah. In fact, if you read my book, Y'all Have Sinned, it talks about how all of the ones, the slaves that escaped, a lot of them, and went to Mexico, just like we had a lot here. But the free ones actually went to Mexico. And you had whole entire black communities developed in Mexico. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, they never achieved power. They never achieved the freedom and the influence that we achieved here in America.
Yeah.
And so I'm just saying, just wait. And it's so funny because we've got these Sambos and Quimbos that I like to talk about in Washington, D.C., which are black overseers, mm-hmm. which are politicians that have been elected, which are nothing more than pawns of the Democrat Party to keep the black community in check. You got these people just doing the will of the progressives, and they're the ones helping and assisting, aiding and abetting basically their own demise, the demise of their people. Because, as I said, as soon as the Hispanic community grows to a certain point, you're going to be dust. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean the Anglo community in general, the Europeans, are going to rule, but the Hispanic community, I believe, which will end up being a greater than 50%, will rule.
I've got a thought on that.
Yeah.
Two thoughts. First of all, on the population thing, one of the best customer bases for the abortion industry is the black community. Mm-hmm. And the blacks have basically slaughtered a whole generation. I mean, of the, 60 million abortions that we've had legally done, a big chunk of that is black babies.
Sure.
You know, the other thought I have is if you're a black leftist and you're all for this open border stuff, when those Hispanics come in and get established, you think they're going to want $1 of their taxes to be given to reparations? Because I'm telling you, they're going to say, no, we didn't own slaves.
Right.
At least not American black slaves. Mm-mm. You know, so I'm just saying these people are, they need to think.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Excuse me, they need to think for themselves.
Right. Yeah, they're always talking about black power. No, black power is history. You had your opportunity for black mm-hmm. power, mm-hmm. but you squandered it.
Yeah. It's
funny because I remember in the 70s when Jesse Jackson came out with I Am Somebody.
Yeah.
And, and what was the song? I don't need nobody. Just give me a chance. I'll do it myself. Yeah, it was a song they had, and it was so right, you know, and just give me a chance. I'll do it myself. In other words, and that used to be for a minute. That was the attitude. Just give me a chance. And it was more of the Booker T. Washington philosophy versus the W.E.B.
Yeah,
Du Bois.
Self-empowerment, right?
Self-empowerment. And they always talk this bootstrap crap. Mm-hmm. You know, that Booker T. talked about pulling yourself up. BS. Okay, forget it. What Booker T. Washington said was, if you teach the people the true value of economics mm-hmm. and the value in doing things, just doing things, it doesn't mean working harder. It just means working, period. Mm-hmm. He had this he wrote a lot of books. People don't even know about it. Everybody thinks of Up From Slavery. Yeah. But he has The Black Man in Business. Another one, which is really good, he had this book of teachings or more, it wouldn't really be teachings. He used to give chapel talks on Sunday evening at Tuskegee.
Okay.
And on Sunday evenings, they would have all the students together, and he would just talk to the students.
Was this on campus? Or?
On campus, yeah, okay. At Tuskegee. And they put them in a book. and I can't remember the name. I have copies at home, and I cannot think of the name of it right now. But if you read through these things, what he was, oh my goodness, it's amazing. I mean, it was just enlightening speeches. And he would go through these, and the warnings he would give, it was just phenomenal. He was trying to talk the people in the South from moving into the North, because everybody was wanting to move to Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, Detroit, all these industrial cities, because they thought that's where the future was. Mm-hmm. Or we can make some quick money.
Yeah, like Detroit is the answer today.
well, right. Yeah. And he was talking about moving into the ghettos and in the city. Mm-hmm. And he said the black man's future is in the South. And all black people could think of at the time mm-hmm. was, no, we got to get out of here because Mr. Charlie is going to oppress us. And yes, Mr. Charlie was oppressing, but what Booker T saw was that if black people in the South continue to grow economically,
right,
Mr. Charlie didn't have that power anymore.
Yeah.
And there were black people in the South that had farms, that had power, that Mr. Charlie couldn't mess with. Mm-hmm. He could be mad at them, but he couldn't do anything about it because they needed them.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. He understood that when you had, in fact, he talked about it in all of his sayings. He said, when someone brings something to the markets of the world that everybody wants,
yeah,
nobody inquires about their color.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So if I invent something that you need and you want, you don't care what color I am. Right? You don't care how good of English I speak. You don't care whatever. I want that, I need that. Right? So this is the whole background that Booker T based his ideology on, and this is what he built Tuskegee on. And did you know we've talked about this before? For example, in 1904, Tuskegee created more millionaires than Harvard, Yale, and Princeton combined.
Wow.
Yeah, and people don't know this, but he did, and they were all farmers. But they were farmers, but they were wealthy millionaire farmers. Sure. Because they took what they learned at Tuskegee and went out and built these giant farms.
Yeah.
And then what he did, they also learned how to make bricks.
Yeah.
And they made these bricks that were the finest bricks in America. And I mean, all of these things, I mean, you know, the book he has, The Black Man in Business. It was called The Negro in Business, but now it's The Black Man in Business. Yeah. But The Negro in Business, we've talked about these, the potato farmer in Topeka, Kansas, the guy in New York City.
You know what I'd like to do, Eddie?
What is that?
If you could help me with a little bit of research on this, I'd like to find where on the web I can find these writings by Booker T. Washington. Yeah. I'd like to turn those into, and I've got some software AI technology where I can turn it into podcasts. I'd like to put that into a podcast that just keeps rotating. Yeah. For people just to read a chapter from Booker T. Washington. It's really directed to the black community here to find their historic basis in what makes them a great man or a great woman, you know. But I'd like to see that happen. You know, I remember about the same time, you know, turn of the century, the Industrial Revolution, Thomas Edison said, a lot of people don't recognize opportunity because it comes disguised in bib overalls and looks a lot like work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And that's why one of the reasons it's amazing who Booker T's close friends were.
Yeah.
It was Edison. It was Carnegie, Andrew Carnegie, DuPont, the billionaires.
Yeah.
These were the people that had all the money. These are the people who invested in Tuskegee because they recognized this guy's got it. He sees the future. They knew that the future of America was getting black Americans as productive citizens, not as a drain on the nation.
So, okay, can I?
Yeah.
Let's look at a good friend of mine grew up, first years of his life were in the 60s in Chicago. And we were traveling through Chicago one time. It was a rain day. We were at a Cornerstone Music Festival, and he's taking me around. He said, you know, the trick that Mayor Daley learned how to do was he controlled, separated, and isolated the ethnicities. And he could suppress certain ethnicities. And it was kind of the way he hid his racism.
Right.
And I look at today.
A Democrat trick.
Yes.
It's still doing that today.
And let me go there. Okay. 2 case points. Eric Adams in New York, black man. Then you've got Lori Lightfoot and her successor now in Chicago. And how they're handling all these immigrants coming in. I conjecture to you that it's not so much that they want them to be fed and clothed as much as they want to control their movement. Mm-hmm. So they're keeping them in compounds in these cities. And I think it's more to control them than to truly empower them.
Sure. Well, they don't know what to do with them right now.
Yeah.
It's one of the things. And they're trying to delay and wait and see and hope that Washington can give them orders. Help us out here. Help us figure out what to do with them because, you know, Texas sent us all these people. We thought you all had this and we're going to keep them down there. And now all of a sudden we've got them. What are we going to do with it? You better help us out here.
And I'm saying if you're an immigrant and Booker T. Washington could talk to you today, he'd have 3 words: get a job. Because that's where it starts.
Yeah. Get off the government dole as quick as you can. And that is exactly. And that's
which is the plantation of the modern day.
Yeah, but what's interesting, here's one of the quotes that he had. He was saying to black people, he said, you have got to get land, ownership.
That is
He said, because people of a foreign birth are stealing your birthright. And here we are. We're letting these people come in, and they're stealing your birthright. So what is the big thing that the government has done to the black community? We've kept them in what? Government housing.
Yeah.
They own nothing, do they? They will never. Their children. You have 3. You have a mother, a grandmother, a mother, and the mother's unwed mothers. All 3 of them: unwed grandmother, unwed mother, unwed daughter. All living in that unwed daughter is having kids there in the project. Government run housing.
Yeah.
Some guy out here who's the baby daddy. Okay. And you've got all these women taking care of all these kids, having more, and they're all living on the government dole, but they own nothing. And the Democrats, what they would like to do, don't worry about it. We'll give you more and more. I've talked about it. I've written about this. I've written articles on this. The greatest way for me to keep your kids from competing with mine is to convince you that they can't.
Yeah.
If I tell you, hey, you know what? These Republicans over here, they're going to keep you. What did he say? They won't. What did Biden say? They won't keep y'all in chains.
Yeah.
But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. We're going to take care of you. We're going to give you. We're going to give you food stamps. We're going to give you welfare checks. We're going to give you this and this. You don't have to work. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So you just keep voting for us. We'll take care of you. Meanwhile, look at COVID time, right? What happened? All of the Democrat politicians, and even here in Tulsa, our mayor, where did his kids go to school?
Probably Cassia.
Montecasino.
Okay.
They were still younger.
Oh, yeah.
But Cassia, Montecasino, all of the private schools, what? They were open the whole time, right?
Yeah.
But what did you do with the public schools?
Oh, shut them down.
They shut them down.
They even shut down Epic, as though that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, virtual school where they learn at home.
Right. Yeah. So, but in California, Newsom, his kids went to school.
Yep.
Every mayor, every city official, every county, state official, all around the country, all of these Democrat officials who were so adamant to keep the schools closed and everything, the public schools, the private schools remained open.
Yeah.
Their kids went to school, but no, we can't let your kids go to school because we got to protect these teachers. Well, for some reason, these private school teachers didn't need protection. Mm-hmm. Were they immune to COVID or something? But see, this is how you do it. The best way for me to keep your kids from competing against mine is to convince you that they can't. Mm-hmm. Not because they're not able to, but because these dirty Republicans over here won't let them.
Yeah.
Even though Republicans don't care. They don't care if your kids compete with it. Let's get it on.
Yeah.
Right? But they're convincing you that for some reason, and you're believing it, mm-hmm. that these are the guys, but I'm the one that keeps saying that you can't do it. So don't worry about it. Don't even try.
Yeah.
Don't try.
We'll take care of you.
We'll take care of you. You don't have to try. The Republicans won't let you, but don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing that the people buy this stuff.
Well, and here's the thing. This is not unique to American civics. When I was studying in the later 90s about just how the communists controlled people in the Eastern Bloc.
Yeah.
You would have some dirt poor peasant farmer that lives in a shack that his family's always owned, and it's theirs. And the communist leaders would come in and say, we got a beautiful apartment for you. We'll just move you off this shack. We'll handle that, and you'll get a nice apartment.
Yeah, you don't have to work so hard anymore.
Yes. They lost ownership, okay? Now, take this to what we're talking about today. That black family in the South that had a little shack at the end of the cotton field, but it was theirs.
It was theirs. And the cotton field was theirs.
And there was a Detroit Projects high-rise that they were offering him up in Detroit. Much nicer apartment.
Nice apartment.
With indoor plumbing, And they sold
Central
out.
heat and air.
And there's something I learned in Monopoly when I learned how to play. But in Monopoly, the real rules, that free parking, that's not for the money in the middle of the kitty. That's not playing Monopoly by the rules. What you learn in Monopoly is unless you own property, you're going to lose. Yeah. It's always property.
Yeah, that's what Monopoly is all about.
Yeah, property wins the game.
You know, it happened here in Oklahoma. Did you know? You know those towns, Boley?
Yeah,
Boley,
the Indian
Oklahoma,
towns. Yeah,
Haskell.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all black townships.
Sure.
Those were the black townships.
Langston. In fact, Alsuma.
Yeah, Alsuma
is in right Tulsa and Renty Grove. There's a bunch of black towns that have got absorbed into Tulsa city limits.
Okay, but those were owned by rich black farmers. Mm-hmm. Those were very wealthy people. In fact, Pat when I was on KFAQ,
Pat Campbell
on radio, Pat was blown away because he saw these photos and films of these in Muskogee. Annually, they had a big festival, and all these wealthy black farmers would come together and have parades. And they're driving these beautiful cars, and they were decked out, and they had all, and those are the ones who made Greenwood the Black Wall Street, because they would come to Tulsa and spend all the money, and then go back to their farms with all these, with this money. Now, they worked their butts off to get that money, but they were cotton farmers and whatever else they grew down there. So what happened is they got old and died. The kids didn't want to work anymore. They wanted to move to Chicago, Detroit, where all the fun was. Yeah. All the action was. Kansas
Where you can go
City.
To the Apollo Theater. And,
yeah, exactly. I want to go enjoy it. Like what I'm seeing on TV. So they sold the farms. And some white farmer or rich person that saw the future came in and bought we'll take that off your hands. Yeah, we'll give you $1 million for your farm. You take the $1 million. In one generation, it's squandered. It's gone. Yeah. Now, these people are mad now. Now, all of a sudden, they're mad at the white people because they don't have anything anymore. So now they want reparations, even though they had their reparations. They had $1 million or a couple of million, and they had a farm that would have continued to be producing. And here's the real scary thing, real thing. Oil is found on that land. Aha. So now you gave it, now you're really ticked off. Now you're really mad. Now you really want some reparations because somebody screwed you out of oil land when it was yours, and it could have been yours, and you could have had generational wealth from that land.
There you go.
And now somebody else's generation is taking their land.
I mean,
this is the thing. This is what ticks me off so much about my people, that we had not the foresight, and Booker T saw this. He wasn't alone. Frederick Douglass before him.
Yes.
He saw this. I mean, oh man, we could go on and on. But
let me just say one last thing.
Makes me mad when I think about it.
One last thing on what did in the black wealth in Oklahoma. Something that ended, that needed to end, is segregation, particularly in the commerce and marketplace. Right. You had wealthy black physicians, dentists, professionals, black lawyers, right?
Everything.
Okay. As soon as segregation...
Insurance agents.
Yeah! There you go. As soon as segregation ended,
right.
It was the black consumer. Well, I want to shop at Renberg's.
Exactly.
You know, and they abandoned the historic black entrepreneurs.
Yeah, yeah.
And really hastened it to the point now where you got North Tulsa begging for investors to come in and open up another dime store. And
a dime store instead of a real store.
Yeah, but you're right. Now, the dime store I'm talking about is now they're called Dollar General.
Well, yeah, and you got, what's her name? The counselor. The you know who I'm talking about? What is her name? I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, she's all mad. She's trying to ban Dollar General and the dollar stores from opening in the North because she thinks they're not good enough. She's all into, healthy eating, and she wants whole food. She wants Whole Foods in North Tulsa.
Yeah, in the black book, they want soul food with plenty of starch and grease.
Well, yeah, or anything. Just give us a,
Yes, that's the thing, Eddie. And this is where, like our friend Henry Primo joined the board of the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce and brought in mentors to try to raise up entrepreneurs in the black community in North Tulsa, where they owned the business, not just managed the franchise location. That's where it's going to change.
Do you remember the big deal where the city gave the Mexican owner, the guy that has the supermercado over on
East Tulsa.
I mean, on the, what is it? What's the
21st
Garnett?
Yeah,
21st Garnett. And so they convinced him to open one up in North Tulsa, and they gave him, I think, $6 million or $11 million, so a chunk of money on this loan.
Yeah.
I think he didn't have to pay it back even or something. No, they made some sweetheart deal.
I know
to open this supermarket in North Tulsa. The guy tried it out for 8 years. He was trying, but the stuff kept going out the back door.
Yep.
The cashiers, their friends would come and they weren't ringing them up. They were just giving them the food, and finally, he tried, and he was being attacked because he said, "I'm not making money. I'm leaving.
Yeah,
I'm shutting down. Oh, you can't do it. Look, we gave you all this money. Now you're leaving." He said, "Yeah, you gave me all this money, but I'm not making any money. I'm losing all that same money because I can't hire any employees that are honest. Everybody's stealing. They're stealing my money. They're stealing me blind." And finally, at the end, he finally said, "That's it. You try to deal with it." And the people are complaining because they can't get a grocery store to open up up there, and everyone that was there left.
Yeah. And
it's one of those deals. But what you were talking about, though, a friend of mine, he's passed away now, and a fraternity brother actually, and he told me that very thing. His family had owned the drugstore, one of the big drugstores up there in North Tulsa during segregation, and he went to the University of Nebraska at first, but then his parents made him leave because he started dating a white girl at the University. This was back in the 50s.
Yep.
And so his parents, though, it was his parents. Boy, you can't do that. So his parents made him quit. They wouldn't pay for him at the University of Nebraska, so they made him go to Texas Southern. So he ended up going to Texas Southern instead, and he got his degree there, moved back to Tulsa, and took over the family business as a pharmacist.
Yeah.
But they had a family drugstore. And as soon as integration hit, that was like 1964 or 5 in Tulsa.
Started there, but really by 1970, you started to see it really take effect.
Right, but this already started in the 60s.
Yeah.
When they actually, but everybody went to Montgomery Ward and Walgreens, you know, and they went out of business.
Yeah.
And he had to go to work at Walgreens. He ended up being a pharmacist for Walgreens until he retired. But it was sad because they had a very prominent business in North Tulsa. I had a kid call me. He graduated from OSU Okmulgee, the OSU Tech, in a mechanic school.
Yeah.
And he had just gotten his degree in automotive mechanics. And he wanted to start a mechanic. He was going to give back to the community. And he decides he's going to start a garage. And he put it up in North Tulsa.
Yeah.
And I said, why are you doing that? He said, what do you mean what I mean? Because I want to give back. I said, no, you're doing it backwards. You need to do how the Jews do. Right? But the Jews did. They set up their stores in the black community. In Texas, they did it in the Hispanic, community. And then you take your money that you make and you go back and you live in the black community and you spend it in your community.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Exactly.
But no. So he goes and sure enough, he starts this garage. A year later, he's done. He's gone. I mean, nobody, everybody wanted to take their car down south to Firestone.
Pep Boys.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was every bit as good and probably didn't cost as much. But I drive by there and see him, and he and his guys are just sitting there.
Yeah.
Nobody shows up. But that's the kind of thinking they didn't have. He needed to do like Booker T's people did, to where he was known for excellence, but he did his work in areas outside. In Alabama, in segregated Jim Crow Alabama, the Tuskegee brick masons, your construction people, your farmers, which were not just farmers. These are horticulturists.
Yeah.
That George Washington Carver trained.
Yeah.
These were George Washington Carver trained people that these farmers all over the South would go to, and he would advise them on how to grow their crops.
Exactly.
They were known for, if you want the best, go call them N-words. I mean, they didn't care. You call me what you want, but you pay me.
Yeah,
right? You pay me. It's like, what's the lady's name who won the first black actress to win the Academy Award there in 49?
Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, from Gone with the Wind. She said, I'd much rather play a maid than be one.
Yeah, that's right.
And she didn't care what she played, what she thought she was, but this is who I really am. She lived in a mansion. She had 5 Cadillacs, Rolls Royces, and everything like that. She knew who she was.
Yeah.
She was satisfied. So anyway.
Let's look at what entices a person to live that lie and that defeatist attitude, and bitterness is one of the things.
They're taught. It's a taught.
Yeah. But like, for instance, you take our Hispanic grocer example. He wasn't, air quotes here, one of us, right? So he goes into the black community, and they're going to steal from him more openly because he's not one of us. When I was, as an advocate on mental health, I was talking to a black woman, she's a professor at the UCAT campus. And we were trying to find, okay, how can we reach the black community who really needs help dealing with mental health issues in family? And she looked at us 2 old white guys. She says, you're going to have to get some black teachers because they're not going to listen to you. And this is a black woman telling us this openly. And whether that's a good thing or bad thing, the point is it's the reality.
Yeah, but in today's world, I think we've passed that. It's no longer race; it's position.
Mm-hmm.
The respect has diminished to the point where you're no longer. For example, there was a video I saw on YouTube where these police officers went to some situation, and there were black police officers, and there was some little kid. I mean, the kid may have been 3 years old, 4 years old, and he was hitting this. It was a black cop.
I saw that video about 3 or 4 months ago. I remember.
Yeah, it was some months ago, and the kid's hitting this police officer, black, and he
toddler.
Yeah, toddler, and just calling him names and all this stuff. And he's been taught that if you're a police officer and you're black, you're a traitor, basically.
Yeah.
This is what everything has devolved to.
Yeah.
This is how bad it's gotten.
Yeah.
And to take it to take us out of that whole area into a broader area, this is kind of the brainwashing is the only thing I can use for it.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a communist tactic.
Yes.
And what the Nazis did. See, people always think the Nazis were here and the communists were here. But really, I don't know if you knew this. Did you know the Nazis and communists were partners, that Hitler and Stalin
Yeah, they were
actually,
two socialist organizations that basically were fighting over the same turf, is what I understand.
Well, right. They were actually allies until Hitler basically backstabbed Stalin at one point, and then
that's true.
And that's when they
they had the non-aggression pact, which was it was shut down by Hitler invading Poland because Stalin said, "No, I get to invade Poland."
Right.
Nobody was on Poland's side.
Right. The two, those poor Poles. But yeah, the two were actually partners, and then Hitler decided, I'm going to stab him in the back, and then yeah. But anyway, but their ideology was basically the same. They were both socialists.
Yeah.
They both came out of the same tree. In fact, people still don't understand that Nazi stands for National Socialist.
Yeah.
That's what it means, National Socialist. Some people think it's a National Capitalist or National Republican Party or something.
Yeah.
But it's a National Socialist Party.
Well,
in
today in our public schools, they're still teaching that the opposite of a communist is a fascist. You know, I'm sorry, but every communist I've ever seen was a fascist.
Exactly, and vice versa.
Yeah.
I mean, really, because in Germany it was the same thing. It was the same. Everybody, the state owned everything.
Yeah.
The Nazis, they owned everything, right? And as I've told you, my mother grew up in this, and she told me stories when she was a little girl. She helped her mother distribute a newspaper. Okay, and it was an anti-Nazi newspaper. Ooh. It was from the other party, yeah. And she remembers the Gestapo pulling up. She was just a little girl, and the Gestapo pulls up in a car, comes up, takes all of her mother's papers, pours lighter fluid on them, and burns them right there on the street in front of her, right?
Yep.
And by the time my mother was a teenager, my mother was a friend of the Nazis because she didn't want to create any problems.
Yeah.
And my mother thought Hitler was, a good guy. I mean, her whole life.
Yep.
Until Bill Clinton became president. Then she finally she said, he's just like Hitler. And it finally came out. I'm not telling. I mean, it was funny. It was funny. My wife and I looked at each other. That's the first time we've ever heard her say anything negative. And
to be fair.
By the way, did you notice? I just noticed something. The lights aren't on.
Yeah, here we go.
Get some light on this dark boy here. But anyway, there you are. I don't know if it makes much of a difference to our people in TV land. But seriously, the people need to understand Nazism and communism, they're both isms that ought to be wasms.
Yeah.
And our people have been so brainwashed, the ignorance, and I use the word ignorance, just lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Lack of that we don't, and lack of care. Nobody cares to investigate this stuff enough to really understand the true depth and root of both of these.
Yeah,
that they both come. Karl Marx was a German, people.
Yeah,
Karl Marx wasn't a Russian. Karl Marx was a German.
Yeah,
and both came. The roots of both of these came from the same person.
Yeah.
So,
be fair to your mom, though. She was getting birthday gifts every year from Adolf Hitler.
yeah. Because my grandmother was a widow. My grandfather died when she was 12, and so all the widows, the children, would get birthday gifts and Christmas gifts from the party.
Yeah.
The National Socialist Party.
I don't know that the Jewish orphans were getting the same gift.
Well, initially.
Yeah.
But see, it's really strange too. But just think about it. How did the party know every child's birthday?
Yeah.
Did you know that today, get this, first it was happening in Holland, okay, when we lived in Holland. So we decided we're going to move. We lived in Amsterdam. So we decided we want to move to this little village outside near Haarlem, Haarlem, Holland, which was a suburb. It's probably about 15 miles outside of Amsterdam. Yeah. And then a suburb of Haarlem is Zandpoort. It's near the oceans, okay, near the North Sea. So, but to move there, we had to ask permission. We had to ask permission to move. And we had to ask permission from that city to be allowed to move that city. So it would be like, we see a place we like in Broken Arrow.
Wow.
And we want to move. We have to ask permission from Tulsa and Broken Arrow if we can move there.
Yep.
And they can actually tell us yes or no based on our ethnicity, our social income, and all of those things on whether we can move or not. It's the same, and then you have to register with what they call the Wohnungsamt, which is the residential bureau.
Jeez.
Okay, the residential bureau has to approve for you to move, and so if you're not in the right social class for the neighborhood you want to move into, you can't move there.
Yep.
Isn't that weird? That's how it is over there. And so it's just like a really, really strange thing that the people, this is what socialism is. It's what's called democratic socialism. They have the Democratic Socialist Party, okay, the DPD, or the DSP, I guess it is, or SPD. I'm sorry, SPD, the Socialist Party Democrat, but it's the SPD, it's the Democratic Socialist, and then you got the Christian Socialists. I mean, the names they have for all these different parties is kind of weird, but anyway, but that's what life is like over there. You have to register to move, and the government has to know. And so I remember in German, I said, "What do you mean I've got to register with the Wohnungsamt, with the residential bureau?" They said, "Well, sure. How else will the government know where you live?" I am kidding. I am not kidding. This German actually asked me, "Well, how else will the government know where you live?" I said, "Well, they don't need to know where I live."
That's right.
But to them, it was a weird thought that you could live somewhere without the government knowing where you live. And I just thought, this is the weirdest thing, you know. Oh, that's how people got in trouble in World War II.
Yeah, they trust the state.
Yeah, exactly. It was just weird.
True. Speaking, trust the state. Boy, we've got some headlines from Washington.
Yeah, you want to get into some news?
Yes.
First of all, let's. I do want to say there's kind of a sad note. Jim Brown passed away yesterday.
The famous running back.
Famous running back at age 87. Mm-hmm. I used to hate Jim Brown as a running back.
Why?
Because he would always win against. I was a Baltimore Colts fan.
Oh, sure, that explains it all.
Yeah, I guess it would. Yeah, it was like if you were a Detroit Lion fan or something, and you would watch Peyton. Mm-hmm. Or you were a Chicago fan and they would play Detroit when Barry Sanders was around or something. You know, it would be like that. But he was, Jim Brown. I could not understand how they could not. I would say my dad was a huge Jim Brown fan, of course, because he knew the history. Jim Brown was one of the first black running backs. Mm-hmm. And so he just loved Jim Brown. He wasn't a Cleveland Brown fan, but he loved Jim Brown. But I would sit there, Dad, how come they can't tackle him? He's slow. He's not even running fast. And I said, just get him. Somebody stop him. It was just the weirdest thing how, because I don't know if you remember the films, but it was like he was just gliding. It wasn't, he wasn't he wouldn't juke. He would just run and people would hit him. He would just keep going and people bouncing and he looked like he's down. And then he would go down and I said, oh, he's hurt. I said, no, he's not hurt. He just gets up slow. Yeah. And that was different. He would and you just think, oh, the guy is dead. And he gave him the ball and then he's gone again.
Yeah. No, he said something. I don't know if it was about the time O.J. Simpson's records started compiling or maybe it was after that. But he said, listen, if you're playing 17 regular season games, back when I was playing, we had 12, right? Because he said, we had to finish our championship before the snow falls. Now they do the Super Bowl in February,
16, yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at it, he's right. If you divide those annual rushing numbers by 12 games, per game, he's still beating all these other guys.
Oh, yeah. If you look at his record and then even take Barry Sanders per season, his record. To me, the guy who's the most unworthy of a record of anything, to me, is Emmitt Smith.
And he right now holds the record.
Well, I know. But it was just he ended up longevity-wise. He just outlasted everybody. But I mean, Barry Sanders, Jim Brown, even O.J.
Yeah, I give Barry a lot of credit because he was on an awful team. He carried that whole team on his back.
Well, yeah, and he quit early. He like Jim Brown. Jim Brown and Barry Sanders retired early.
Yeah, they did.
If they had played as long as Emmett and others, oh my goodness, those records would probably never be touched. But but anyway, back to Jim. He and then he became a movie star, became an actor. I don't think he was ever a great actor, but I give him credit for doing what he wanted to do. He decided that's what he wanted to do, and he decided to do it, and he became somewhat of a political activist. And I didn't always agree with everything, but later in life, he kind of I think I understand a little bit more what he wanted to do, and I think he was sincere. There's a difference in him and a Colin Kaepernick. Jim Brown came out of an era where he truly did see injustice.
Oh, huge.
And worked for change.
Yeah.
That's what he was protesting. Colin Kaepernick, just an idiot. And was driven more by his girlfriend than anything real. Yeah.
And what something I want to say, and I think you know some about this, given your entertainment industry background. Anymore, if you're really going to rise to national prominence, part of your budgeting is to hire publicists who massage your image publicly. And I think of guys like Jim Brown, or, you take, who was the guy that was running back for the Sooners back in the 80s?
Tommy Sims.
No, that went into Hollywood.
Tommy Sims. No, Barry. What is it?
Yeah, why can't I think of his name?
Sims.
No, it wasn't
Sims.
No, this a middle linebacker. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my daughter. Oh, yeah. My daughter used to babysit for him.
And, yeah, he got kicked out of the Orange Bowl one
with the Mohawk.
Yeah, and anyway, and he went into acting and stuff. There are some people that just leave it up to people to think whatever they're going to think about him. I think that way about Humphrey Bogart, who just flat out wouldn't play a game. He says the only thing an actor owes his public is a good performance.
Right.
And you respect their accomplishments.
Brian Bosworth.
Brian Bosworth.
The Boz, yeah.
Yeah, but because I've seen some of how this is done, and occasionally get a chance to hear an artist say, no, that's not who I am. That may be what my publicist put out.
Right.
But he just made that up.
Yeah.
So they create this public image. And I think Jim Brown, probably unlike some of these other, athletes who reach celebrity status, just didn't put the money into paying publicists.
You know who, when I think now, thinking about it, do you know who I compare Kaepernick to? Prince Harry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think.
Yes, there are so many similarities.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, spell it out for the rest of the book. So,
yeah, Prince
is whipped by his woman.
Well, yeah, and he doesn't have the gravitas. There's really nothing there. There's no there. A Jim Brown, I mean, there's there.
Yeah.
I mean, you could arguably say he was the greatest running back ever, right? I mean, you could argue that fact that maybe Barry Sanders, maybe Emmitt Smith, if you want to, he does hold the record, okay? I mean, he really has the record.
One, Adrian Peterson at his prime.
Adrian Peterson,
Yeah.
But, I mean, let's put this Adrian before Colin Kaepernick. Okay?
Oh, God.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, and then you got Prince Harry, who really hasn't done anything except make the weirdest, stupidest remarks, but he's always getting the press, and he's always coming up with something just silly and weird.
Yes.
And he's got the woman behind him.
Yes.
That seems to be the catalyst for most of this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what this kind of reminds me of with Kaepernick and Prince Harry, and so
can I just put it on? They're famous for being famous.
Yeah, that's true.
That's I think of Paris Hilton. Think of any of the Kardashians. What have they done? They're just famous for being famous.
Yeah, and if you want to go there, even this week things were getting quiet. You didn't hear about Prince Harry and Meghan for a while, and also a 2-hour car chase in New York City. You tell me how you can possibly have a 2-hour car chase in New York City.
Yeah.
No, I mean, come on. I mean, if you're going to do it, at least make it believable.
Yeah.
You cannot have a 2-hour car chase. I mean, in 2 hours, you can get from New York City to New London, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you can almost get to Providence, Rhode Island in 2 hours,
Yeah.
So a 2-hour car chase in New York City, seriously, where were you going?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well,
the stuff they come up with is just.
I want to tell you what my thoughts are, because right away it evokes memories of the death of Harry's mother, Princess Diana. Right. Now, who killed Princess Diana? Everybody's going to say, well, the paparazzi. No. Her drunk driver, is who, because first of all, now, aside from maybe running some yellow lights or maybe going above the posted speed, okay, those are moving infractions, not even misdemeanors, they're citations. But it was their desire to evade photographers. That's it. How much are you willing to risk your lives and the lives of others to get away from a photographer from taking a picture? And this is the vanity that they think they're entitled to.
And you're in a car.
Yeah.
I mean, how good of a picture are you going to get? I mean, just duck.
Yes.
Or why don't you get some tinted windows? I mean, if it's that big of a deal, get some tinted windows. Yeah.
But they think they're entitled to that, Eddie.
Yeah. No, I agree. Hey, apologies to Jim Brown. And listen, let's get back to that.
Yeah.
I want to finish up.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, Jim Brown, a legend, a great legend. I think he was a good man. I think he had the right ideas. He tried to do what was right. I mean, what I'm trying to get at, his publicity, as you said, was not always good.
Right.
He had a few things. Apparently, girl accused him of throwing her off a balcony or something. But I think overall, he tried to do what was good. Mm-hmm. He was a man. He was a human in the flesh. But in the end, I really think people tried to diminish him because he wanted to do the right thing and met with Donald Trump because he thought it was the best thing for his people and for his cause. Mm-hmm. And this is what gets me too, that people sometimes put attitude above a cause.
Yeah.
In other words, if you feel you can go to the king, in the old days it would have been the king, and it would help you in a cause you had.
Sure.
If you wouldn't go to the king to try to free someone or do something just because you didn't like something about the king, then shame on you. Mm-hmm. And this is what's wrong with America today to a certain point. So much of America, people have an attitude on someone because they're Republican, someone because they like Trump, or even if they like Biden, Obama, just because it's Obama or Biden or Trump.
Yeah.
Right? The anti-Trumpers, okay? Mm-hmm. The never Trumpers, the Bidens or the whatevers. So this is where we are in America today, and this is what is such a detriment to our nation.
Yeah.
That we're so divided.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that though comes from, to me, the Democrat Party and our media.
Right.
Which is, to me, been overtaken by nefarious entities are behind this. I don't think it's just an accident or something that's just happened. I think it's been planned, and I think I would have to say, if anything, I don't know if it's communist. It's too easy to say it's a communist or socialist thing. I think it's pushing a lot of us in that, but it's bigger than that.
Right.
I think it's that WEC, that World Economic Forum. There's a group that supersedes communism, capitalism, socialism. It's beyond that.
It is a global movement, a global agenda. Yeah. But I want to say, and just to tack on to the Jim Brown thing, remember also Kanye and his wife Kim went to see Trump. Why? Because there were some criminal justice reform measures that needed to happen. Now, it was the race-baiting poverty pimps like Jackson and Sharpton that trashed Kanye for doing that. But you know what? Kanye and Kim got some things done.
Right.
There are some people rotting in prisons, federal prisons, that needed justice.
Right.
And they got justice for those people. And, this is the problem. There are the Sharptons of the world that are so passionate in their hatred to Trump that they don't want him to get credit for anything.
But see, here's the thing. Their passionate hate for Trump is not so much a passionate hate for Trump. It's a tool.
Yeah.
They used it because their kingdoms were threatened.
Yes.
That's what it is.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying they're also passionate about that Trump is standing in their way.
Oh, yeah.
He has to be taken down.
He has to be taken down. That's exactly what it is. Because if people start following him in that ideology, it undermines their whole whorishness.
Yeah,
their pimpdom.
Right. For all the people trying to discredit Trump, say, well, he's an election denier. I take you to 2017 where Hillary Clinton said Trump is not a legitimately elected president.
Yeah.
Okay. They seem to forget
2000.
That. Yeah. But
Al Gore.
Right. And the Bernie Sanders people who said after Hillary got the nomination, and rightly said, that she cheated Sanders out of it.
Right.
Openly.
Right. Oh, no, I know. It goes one way, and it all depends on who controls the media. Mm-hmm. Those who control the narrative control the debate. Yeah. And that's what's happening in America now, because your mainstream media is controlled. Now, it's interesting that I do see little cracks.
That's what I want to get to. Yeah,
there's cracks. So anyway, Jim Brown, we'll see you, buddy. I hope NFL Films does a whole special hours of Jim Brown footage. I really do. I will look forward to it because I want to see those films that I used to hate to watch.
Okay.
You running over my Baltimore Colts and others. And but anyway,
Eddie, could you do our readers and viewers a service here on our Facebook page? Could you post any links to any tribute articles or film that actually does it justice? Because I don't expect even our sports media like ESPN to do an honest review of Jim Brown.
Really?
I don't believe they will.
Boy, I hope they do. If they do, I will. I'll look for them. But man,
no, because their agenda is always number one.
Yeah, and that's what's so sad because Kanye was Kanye or Ye, and until he dared to support Trump, then he became Nay. But and Jim Brown, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Jim Brown was a legend. Bill Cosby was a hero and a legend and a good guy until he dared to make a speech at the NAACP faulting black people for some of their own issues. And all of a sudden, we can't have that.
And owning black men accountable.
But that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to be more specific then.
Well, no, it was bigger than that though. It
was the failure of black fatherhood, I think is what
it was holding black people accountable for their own issues.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, so but
see, you got a white guy trying to tell a black guy what black
Thank you.
But that's what
I'll have to take him back in the woodshed.
Yeah, but that's what stood out to me. Because there was one time Jesse Jackson gave that same speech.
Oh, yeah.
And then he stopped.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Jesse Jackson, back when Operation Push started in the early 70s and into probably the mid 70s, all of a sudden, and then when Jesse ran for president, all of a sudden everything flipped. And he just, I don't know, it's weird. He became a different person, everything. And I think it's the party got a hold of him and changed him. I think that's what really happened, Then he just became another Sambo and Quimbo. Okay, we've discussed Jim, Brittany, and did we discuss Brittany Griner?
No.
Oh, we didn't. I wanted to talk about Brittany Griner. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen her lately?
No, this is the women's NBA.
WNBA. Yeah, she was in prison in Russia for a while. Yeah. She's back. She's playing again for Phoenix, and she cut her hair.
Okay.
And actually, I think she looks good. She's got it just cut, and it's just a little short afro. But what I have to say, it's a new Britney in more ways than one. She stands for the national anthem now.
Okay.
And she handled her.
She's a grateful American?
Well,
maybe?
I think the Russians made her an American. No, I mean, it's sad that it took that experience, but I think it takes an experience like that sometimes to let us appreciate who and what we are in our country. And it's sad. And no, I want to wish her well. I hope that Brittany can affect more than just that. I wish more of these young people would really understand, because there's such an attack on our youth, and they're going at such a young age in our schools. It brings me back to the book by Lauren Cunningham, Bill Bright, Seven Mind Molders. Several people have ripped it off now, the Seven Mountains, they call it.
Yeah.
But the original book and idea of it's called the Seven Mind Molders, and it talks about how those are the areas that affect culture and the minds of people. And these are areas, entertainment, politics, faith. I'm not going to, it's not that I'm not going to, it's that I can't remember them all right now.
Yeah.
But these are the areas that the left has used. Education is the big one, but they have taken over. And these are areas that we have to, I've always said, I don't know if I've shared this before, but conservatives, for some reason, conservatives and Christians too, but sometimes they're the same, but not always, but our aspirations for our kids, okay, they're usually two things, okay. Mm-hmm. When we want to see a good Christian or good Republican or good conservative, we always think, okay, we want them as a Christian. We want them to go into ministry. We want you. Oh, he's gonna go into youth work. He's gonna be a youth pastor. He's gonna be a Christian artist. Mm-hmm. Eventually, and go up the ladder. A music minister, an associate pastor, a youth pastor. Eventually, he's going to be a pastor. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of my son. He's the pastor. Mm-hmm. Blah, blah. So, and then on just a general conservative, you want them to take the political route, right? Mm-hmm. You want him, he's going to go work for this congressman, this senator, eventually become a congressman, a senator, a city official, a state rep, Well, progressives don't think that way.
Yep.
What they do, they know the areas that are important. One of the most overlooked the other thing on conservatives, we want to go into business. So they want to go into the business world and overtake that. But what liberals have done, they've realized a long time ago, one of the most powerful positions, what do you think the most influential and powerful position in any organization is? Take a guess. What part of the organization?
You've already asked me this.
Have I asked you this? Did I answer it? Do you know the answer? HR, human resources. That's okay. Yeah, it's human resources, and in the military too. It used to be called personnel.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the MOS? Is 71H, 71L, something like that. Anyway, it's
the Trojan horse.
Yeah, and the reason it's important is this. It used to be the personnel, human resources, because these are the people that control your advancement, and it determines your placement. So when you go in the military and you apply for a promotion, they hold all your files and they promote you or recommend you for promotion and so forth. Yeah. Okay, and so then they can make or break you. Basically, they can, and they're very good at that. The next one is military intelligence. This is where Chelsea Manning was in, military intelligence. And what they have done, a lot of the liberal progressives and gay community, that's where they started placing their people a long time ago. They've been in those human resources and in military intelligence. So in military intelligence, of course, they know all the background, the good, the bad, and the ugly of all of it.
So it's two-part. It's promotion, but before that, it's recruiting too. Because what kind of packages do you offer? What kind of incentives in that to recruit those selected people you want?
Well, yeah, but that comes from that. Yeah, that's more way higher up. So, for example, that's more based on the danger. For example, they have the one called where they deal with biological, nuclear. What is it? NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical. Okay, these are guys that have to dealing with nuclear, biological, chemical warfare and those type of things. So it's a hazardous duty. So they get a higher pay than when you reenlist. You get a huge, like maybe a $20,000, $30,000 bonus for that. And then another one is, let's say military intelligence. You get a certain amount, being a tank driver or a specialist in a certain area, and they assign a certain amount to all these different things.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you're giving me specifics of military. I'm not questioning that. But the general template, it's just like, when you go into a shop, you're looking for a job as a young person, it says help wanted, and the manager or the owner takes one look at you and says, no, we've already filled the position. and then an hour later they're interviewing some more people. You know, it's telling them there's no slots open when there are slots open.
I see what you're saying. Right.
Yeah, because you want it. General Milley right now, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, is being accused that they're trying to weed out everybody and get everybody. So the entire military has a bias.
Right.
Is the whole thing.
I see what
because at some point, Eddie, and I think seriously we're looking at a point where with our deep state so corrupted, as we're finding out this week, the FBI, huge legacy of being the enemy of our republic. It's going to take an honest military to save us. And I don't know if we're going to have one.
Yeah. And the question is then who can hire and fire? You know, who has the authority to fire? Like, why did Donald Trump, or why could Donald Trump not fire the head of the FBI and maybe the heads of every department in the FBI to put new blood in there that...
Well, we put in place some things called civil service protection because we didn't want it to become the spoils of election wins for, you know, and to see good people fired just to make room for another campaign contributor, you know. So, look, though I'm convinced Trump had no idea just how hideous the enemy was. And I think you naively trusted people he shouldn't have trusted.
Well, he knows now.
I don't know if he completely. I don't know if anybody.
Well, yeah, that's true. We still don't know. That's true. Yeah, we don't know how deep.
Because I look at, you know, take Bill Barr. For a while, he was a huge fan of Bill Barr. And then we found out just how corrupted Bill Barr was in, you know, just saying, yeah, there's no story here. Move along, folks. Especially as I read more about what's being uncovered with the Jeffrey Epstein case. Because I'm convinced now that Epstein served...
Can we say that? Because don't you have a whole thing on that?
I thought
we're going to close on that, I think.
Yeah, why don't we?
Let's do it.
Let's continue.
Because I've got a few more things. Yeah. All right. So, man, we're jumping around here. Yeah, we're jumping around. Hey, I want to talk about Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah,
Bobby.
Brave man.
Bobby Jr.
Yeah.
So the DNC and Biden will not have any debates. And so they want to keep Bobby out of it. And because he's a real threat. I think he is a legitimate threat. Okay. Now, they've talked about Newsom. And I don't think Newsom has a chance. I don't think Newsom is going anywhere. I'm still my prediction, that they will pull Michelle out of their butts at some point down the road. Michelle Obama is going to end up running at some point. Let me see. The election is, a year and a half away?
Yeah, election is a year and a half.
It's getting here quicker and quicker. Wow.
Yeah, less than a year and a half.
Yeah, so I would imagine probably, I'm going to say sometime between September and November, Michelle Obama will announce. So you heard it here, maybe not first, but early. But yeah, I'm predicting Michelle will be in there. But anyway, Bobby Kennedy, the excuse that they're giving for not doing any of these is that the president does not need to have any debates. That's the excuse they're using. Well, I think people do think he needs to. And apparently right now, Donald Trump's lead over Biden is growing. It's getting bigger, and Biden's popularity is shrinking more and more. So
how about this? How about someone like, we'll just throw Fox News out there, that they'll host a debate and invite Michelle Williamson and Bobby Kennedy and Newsom or whoever.
Oh, I think that's going to happen.
I'd love to see that happen.
No, I think you will see a debate without Biden. It's going to make him look that much worse.
If nothing else, Joe Rogan step up and host some debates.
You know, that would be good. That would be good, yeah, because if somebody will do that, start hosting some debates, it will make Biden look that much worse.
Yes.
You're right. No, I agree. Anyway, Bobby Jr., Man, he sounds better all the time. And what's interesting, the mainstream media, they won't have him on either. Have you noticed that? Mm-hmm. He ends up here's a Democrat and a liberal Democrat.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a conservative guy, really. I mean,
No.
The ideas he's a true liberal,
Classic liberal.
Yes. Right? You know, and so it's really weird that, but they don't want to touch it.
Right, which makes him kind of a populist. But keep in mind, Trump is a very populist person. Their positions on issues is different, but how they appeal to the masses is not the same.
Right. It's kind of weird because I think Trump and Kennedy would actually make quite a team. It would be quite an interesting
For
team.
individual liberties, it's almost like the golden team, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing you have to say they're both about is individual freedom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which both get attacked for. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, the thing that now from the right, Trump is getting attacked for is the vaccine. Mm-hmm. Back when he was pushing for a vaccine, everybody thought we need a vaccine. Mm-hmm. So he was pushing to get a vaccine. And at that time, we thought these pharmaceutical companies were dealing honestly. Mm-hmm. And he was saying, get vaccinated. But mm-hmm. this is the caveat. He said, if you want one.
That's where I want to get you.
That's the thing.
Let's face it. Here's what Trump was really proud of, even, you know, for the first year or so after leaving the White House. His pride was that he moved the bureaucracy to get a 10-year process down to a little over a year. Well, the thing is, those people were going to move to get that vaccine so they could mandate it. So to Trump and to those of us now realize that Trump, that was no great feat because the deep state was going to make that happen with or without you. That's my opinion.
Well, yeah, but see, to me, there's a difference that he was pushing because it was pretty clear people wanted, and realistically, we needed a vaccine. Okay.
I think you need that option for people who want.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And that's what he wanted, the option. Mm-hmm. Now, he also left the option open. Do you remember, even before COVID ever showed up, mm-hmm. he introduced the right to try. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
Absolutely.
Not just COVID. Anything,
cancer's the
treatment,
big thing. Yeah.
Cancer treatment, whatever. If you want to try owl dung, you know, if you have a witch doctor that says he can cure your cancer and you want to do it, it's up to you.
Yeah,
you know, that's his position,
and that's the essence of individual liberty. It's my body.
It's my body. Yeah. And it's funny because the my body people on abortion are going to fight you on your body when it comes to other stuff.
Well,
right?
and on these things, it truly is your body. Right. Now, when you're carrying another human body, you know.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird? The my body people say, no, it's not your body to inject whatever kind of medicine you feel might heal you, right? Ivermectin, for example. Trump said, ivermectin, go ahead. You know, mm-hmm. What are some of the others? Some of these other medicines that have been proven to work.
Yeah.
Through trial, you know, just so many people use them and they work. Then, you know, it's just crazy. For example, excuse me. I don't know if you took ivermectin.
At one point I did.
Yeah.
It was a false alarm. When I thought I may have COVID, ends up I had a really bad influenza.
Right.
But initially I wasn't, you know, it's one of the safest drugs out there. Ivermectin is.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's what's weird. I took, what is the malaria pill? Hydroxychloroquine.
Oh, yes. There's another one.
In 2018 was the last time. I went in 16 and 18. I went to Uganda. Mm-hmm. So my doctor prescribed hydroxychloroquine.
Yep.
The first time I went back in 1982 and 84 and 7. The 3 times I went before, it was just chloroquine.
But prophylactic, not that you had malaria, but just to begin a treatment.
To begin the treatment, right?
To prevent it.
Right, it's to prevent it.
Yeah.
They automatically prescribe
Yeah.
that. So I took it, and I had it, and no problem. Big bottle of, but take it.
Yeah.
I was supposed to take it for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Nobody, it's cheap,
I know.
And so all of a sudden,
sleep in the jungle, bare naked.
Yeah. And all of a sudden now, when everybody wants hydroxychloroquine as a preventative to this, oh no, it's dangerous.
And the U.S. Post Office was interrupting international shipments of it.
Yeah.
That's how much they were trying to keep people from having that option.
Well, you know why? Because the pharmaceuticals wanted to block it. That's the only reason. Listen, hydroxychloroquine, they've been giving it by the millions worldwide. And then all of a sudden, because people needed it or wanted to try it for this, oh no, you can't do it. It's dangerous. It's never been dangerous. Nobody's ever died from hydroxychloroquine. Trust me.
Yeah.
Because it's a malaria pill. And now they found that it works on this, but no, you can't have it. There was only one reason. So anyway, moving on. But anyway, that's what were we on? The Trump, the libertarian similarities between Bobby Kennedy Jr. and
civil liberties.
Donald Trump. The fact that they're, I mean, it is because, they are different in, as we've talked before, Bobby is a good friend of my daughter's, and she first started talking to me about him, and I said, what? You're friends with a Kennedy? No,
says the guy who goes to church with Marilyn Manson, okay? Well, I'll never let him live that down.
Well, it was Kanye's church, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I'm sure there were a few other people there.
At a Jew-hating church.
Jew-hating church. Oh, man. No, but no.
I'm in jest in all this, okay?
We know.
Yeah.
They should know. Yeah. Anyway, it was an incredible thing. But anyway, but no, I really, in listening to Bobby Kennedy, I really like it. It's funny because I like him and I like, what's her name? Is it Gabby?
Tulsi Gabbard?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Mm-hmm. Who's not indicated she's interested in anything this year. She ran.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, just in general, as people, right. I liked it because
true liberals in the classic sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And I don't agree with them on the abortion. They're both pro-choice. There's some other areas. They're probably like you, probably support weed use,
cannabis medicine. Cannabis. Say it with me.
Getting high. No, but there are many of those things. But there's things we disagree on. But at heart, the whole idea of liberty with boundaries. You see, that's the key. In other words, there are boundaries that they have. They're not just. You know what I'm saying? There's certain libertarians that are just crazy.
Yeah.
Okay,
finish your thought. I want to get into that a little bit more.
Thank you. Yeah. But so I do like a lot of that attitude. But at the same time, overall, I'm still a Trumpkin, as people call us.
I think you have to be, just as a rationally thinking person. Here's where I'm going to throw down on that. We talked last week a little bit about it, is your position on left or right when it comes to government programs, government providing, government as the nanny state, you taking care of your health care. What do they call it? The guaranteed income.
Yeah. Guaranteed minimum wage.
Yeah, and all this.
That, yeah.
So when the government pays all the bills, then government has the moral authority to say, wait a minute, you can't do reckless things because we have to pay the bills. We got to pay for the emergency room on that. Okay. So I don't believe that people, let me just put Bobby Kennedy as a avatar for that mindset. Not that.
Well, let me say, but That is not. He's a capitalist. He has stated that he is
good. Okay,
that he is not. That is
Okay.
not. He believes in capitalism. He does not support.
But when you toy with ideas of a social safety net,
right.
whether Tulsi or Bobby, very different people. Teddy Kennedy believed in
that's another
the government health care and that. But that's the problem is when they pay the bills, then they have this moral authority to say, wait a minute, you're not going to jump out of an airplane, because we got to pay the bills, right? Yeah. Whereas somebody on the right who says, no, you know what, get a job, okay? Take care of your own, take care of your bills. That person has a much stronger position in saying, look, I'll take whatever drugs I would want to take because I'm paying for me. Right. And the only time you run into a problem with that is when you say, but if you get addicted to that heroin, you're eventually going to break into my car and steal my stereo. And, that's a projected kind of thing. So what I want to say is the libertarian versus, the statist is on an XY grid with, the socialism versus, self-providing.
Capital, yeah.
Yeah, a capitalist view. And that's why I'm saying these people that even the classic liberals like Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard in that, this is where they're going to run into a problem is how much does the government provide for you versus how much do we let you live however you want to live?
See, yeah, no, I agree with you there, but in listening to him, in fact, I just heard him this week. I think he was with Rob Carson.
Oh, good.
Not Rob Carson. What's his name? Rob
Schmidt. Yes. Great journalist on Newsmax.
Right.
6 and 10.
Yeah.
Central Time.
Yeah. He was. He came out. And He's not. He believes in capitalism, and he that people need to work. Mm-hmm. And that the government is chewing off too big of a chunk of paying for too much. The programs are too big. We can't. He basically said we can't go that way because it's going to bankrupt our country.
Exactly.
So he gets that. Now I don't know where Tulsi is on that whole deal. I've never really heard her expound on.
Yeah, and on Bobby, I'd say this: if he has a bias, that bias is against the big corporate giants who are in bed with the government.
Right. That he does very much. That is his his big deal. Yeah. And see the other thing, I'm not sure because my daughter, who just loves the guy, she knows him real well, but. Being a what do you call those things? Pregnancy
crisis
pregnancy center director where her whole life is pro-life, and that she would be friends with this guy. That's what kind of shocked me. So I can't imagine he's very much pro-choice with her stance, and he's a Catholic too. So I don't know exactly where he is on the whole abortion deal either. So, but I know that somehow they're very close. They meet a lot and talk and stuff.
And your daughter's been an effective fundraiser for this cause, right?
Right.
Yeah. And being in Hollywood, it's kind of an interesting thing because
you would be surprised at all of the people that are pro-life out there.
All the anonymous gifts given to her ministry.
Yeah, millions of dollars. I mean, there's a lot of people with substantial means that can that believe in pro-life issues. So, but anyway, I think he. Yeah, it's weird. There were some things that he said I didn't agree with. I can't remember what they are right now. So, I mean, he is to me, I see him as a classic Democrat, the old John F. Kennedy Democrat. And see, I can deal with that. So I could deal with that. Okay. If that's as bad as it gets, we could deal with that. But I think there are a lot of Democrats, the ones that have come to the GOP today, that are that old school. They would love to see that. I bet there are a lot of Republicans today that would love to go back to that.
Yeah, I identified as that kind of Democrat in my teens.
Yeah, yeah. But the Democrat Party has gone so far.
Oh, yeah.
They're communists now, basically.
Oh,
I mean, that's what we got. We don't have a Democrat Party anymore.
Nope.
And then on the Republican Party, a lot of that I don't recognize. McConnell, and you might as well lump them over there with some of those Democrats. It's gotten so weird. I mean, Now, fortunately, the good news is this latest crop that has been newly elected, what I'm seeing is a whole new desire to start, excuse me, I got it.
Yeah, no doubt.
To start holding people accountable and to bring our government back into to check and make it a government of the people.
Yeah.
Do the will of the people. The sad thing is, as I go on Twitter, we got some crazy people.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, man. I can't believe. I mean, it's really kind of bad. And on Facebook even, I was somehow, I accepted somebody as on my Facebook page as a friend. And next thing, with that person, it brought on, I just had to stop because these people were just, I can't even remember what the topic was, but I could not believe these people. It was just like another whole world. I said, I can't.
Well, I'll tell you, I've talked to a lot of friends who said all of a sudden people end up in their Facebook feed, Twitter feed, and this is for the last few years, that they never clicked follow or never clicked like or, be friends with. And what did Elon find out about all those Twitter accounts? A massive amount of them are bots, not even real people. And I know how to set that up. I've actually got tools to make me look like 8 people arguing.
See, on Twitter, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Because I expect it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And so I don't mind. I love arguing. You know me. Well,
no, Eddie, debate?
Twitter, man, that's my haven.
Eddie loves to poke the bear.
Oh, man. I just go to town with these people, and then they quit, and then they disappear. But on not Facebook, because I've got too many friends and people that are more sensitive, so I don't, that's not a place where it's more where I want to say my piece and vent and stuff, but Twitter's my battleground, right?
Yeah.
And I just go there all day. But anyway, getting back to Bobby and what's her name, Tulsi, I can deal with that. If that's the worst that it is, that is reasonable opposition.
Sure.
That's sane opposition.
And it's an honest debate.
It's an honest debate, exactly.
Yeah.
But some of it, your Schumer, your Sharpton, Pelosi, some of the California guys, just dishonest, just totally dishonest stuff that's coming through there. That's it's just destroying our country. It's destroying our nation. Yeah.
And, I'm going to bring up something just to illustrate that point, that it's not a topic I'm going into except to illustrate it. In Holland, the farmers are revolting and striking because the legislature, the parliament there in the Netherlands, is putting a cap on how many cows can be in a field, and they're limited to 2 per pasture because of the methane that these cow flatulence produce. It's a non-issue that they're making into an issue to distract us from the real issues. That's my point, Eddie.
An update on that, though.
They're distracting us.
They've replaced that legislature. The farmers revolt. They had an election, and they took back control. Yeah, and they got rid of those people. But
the bigger problem hasn't gone away. We have these non-issues.
Oh, no, I understand. Yeah. I mean, here we still have a problem because we still have
gas stoves.
The majority, in the state legislature in certain states, they've gotten, the whole environmental
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, they're trying, and the WEC, okay, the World Economic Forum, those people, they're just out of their mind. And you saw lately the what is it, the I7
G7.
I'm adding letters, making up my own. The Q8.
If you're listening to audio, you missed the gesture. Okay, watch the video podcast.
The Q8. The G7. You know, the stuff they've come up with now. Did you see any of the reports? You know, the G7, it's almost, these people take themselves too seriously, you know. And the one who bugs me the most is the lady from Sweden. She just thinks she's something. She thinks she's like, she's the new Angela Merkel.
Yeah, she's the Karen queen.
She just thinks that she's it. Big stuff,
yeah.
You know. And yes, I'll come up with oh, come on, give me a break, lady. Just sit down, you know.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. The environmentalist, scare, the global warming. I think that whole thing has just been created to be a distraction while the real power move is happening. And you add to that, how powerful can this be that all of the institutional media outlets have basically sold their brand down the tank to become nothing but a puppet and propagandist.
Yeah, and it they think they're such big stuff, but they're going to end up destroying the world. I mean, really. You know, they keep coming up with these things about Russia.
Yeah.
And and Europe, I mean, to me, Sweden, I mean, they better be real careful. We don't even need intercontinental ballistic missiles. They just need a short range.
Yeah, Scuds will reach them.
They can probably use slingshots to send that, nuclear device to Sweden.
Because, Sweden, way up in that northern tip, it actually land connects with Russia.
Right,
itself.
Right. Yeah, Sweden, Finland. Yeah, exactly. And in fact, when I flew to Uganda last time, I flew from Dallas to Minneapolis. No, I'm sorry. I flew all the way straight. I'm sorry. I flew over Minneapolis. I thought, man, we're going the wrong way. Africa's that way.
Oh,
but we flew over the North Pole.
The Arctic. Yeah.
And then we came down over Sweden, Finland, and then USSR. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I didn't sign up for this, and then we flew all over Turkey, came down to Russia, Ukraine, flew over to Ukraine, and then Turkey, and then flew right down the Tigris, between the Tigris and Euphrates. And looking out the window, you got Iran and Iraq. I'm flying right through there.
Wow.
There were so many places we could have been blown out of the sky. I was thinking, wow. I was on a Kuwaiti airline now too, and I was thinking, I was.
Yeah. You remember during the previous war between Russia and Ukraine, it was the commercial airline that got taken down, flying over there.
Yeah, it was a Kuwaiti one though this time. So,
okay. But I just want to say, a lot of us look at the world map as though it's a cylinder and it's a sphere. And if you're flying from one northern hemisphere location to another northern hemisphere location, it makes sense fuel saving wise to make an arc, right?
Yeah, we went.
It's a shorter distance.
It's a shorter distance. That was the shortest distance going straight over from Dallas to get to Kuwait. Yeah, went straight over.
Yeah,
and so anyway, and then from there I had to catch another flight across Saudi Arabia, flew all the way across Saudi Arabia, then the Suez, and then we went actually north of Ethiopia and then back down over Sudan and then finally into Uganda. But man, it was because they had to avoid Sudan because all kinds of crap's going on over there. So
that's something we're hearing very little about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But anyway, I I like to chase rabbits, people. So my apologies, but. Anyway, that's enough on Bobby and everything. Hey, the whistleblower hearings.
That's the big story this week. The big story. Yeah.
So the mainstream media is just ignoring the hearings, pretty much like they do everything else. You wouldn't even know they're happening. And if they do happen to cover it, they're just painting the whistleblowers as some right-wing fanatics that happen to be planted into the FBI.
Yeah.
They're not letting you know the backgrounds of these guys. We're talking about decorated military veterans.
Yep.
People have been decorated within the FBI.
Yeah.
I mean, in the FBI. Promoted and decorated and honored and everything up.
Yeah.
But they're promoting them as or saying that they're just some right-wing fanatics working in the FBI and all, versus the anti-Trumpers that were in there before, that were, basically left-wing activists. I mean, you think about Strzok and Page and even what's his name, the head Comey. It's just crazy, but those guys were treated as patriots, even though they were never even whistleblowers. They were just sneaking bad info out to the press and the media.
Well, they were making up
stuff.
Yeah, it was just flat out treason.
Yeah, I mean
they were trying to take down the presidency.
They were conspirators against the sitting president, and in fact, we have their texts. We have their texts as records showing where they were conspiring against the president of the United States. Yet nothing happened. And, it's funny because tying into that is the Durham report, right? And the Durham report basically came out and said that these guys were basically conspiring against the president.
Yeah, but
let me ask you your opinion. What do you think about the Durham report?
I'm disappointed in it because it ignored the issue of motive. And you cannot have that discussion without looking at the text messages between Peter Strzok and his lover.
Page.
Right.
Lisa Page.
Right. And that's what it was about. We won't let it happen. It was all about Trump winning the election and becoming the next president. We won't let it happen. And then the narrative of the Russia hoax, which was all made up by the Democrat Party, is specifically by the Democrat nominee, Hillary Clinton's people. And so I'm cheering on that it's finally getting published, but at the same time, it's kind of like Comey talking about Hillary's emails and at the same time saying, but we're not going to take any action. The Durham report was a damning list of evidence without going to motive and saying, well, we're not going to do anything about it. That's the problem I have with it, is it should be coupled with a whole bunch of high-level indictments.
Well, see, that's where you and I differ a little bit. I agree that there should be indictments. Okay, I agree there's enough there that a whole bunch of people should be going to jail, at least, okay? But after we saw what happened in the charges he did bring in a D.C. court, I think he realized it's not going to happen. So rather than waste the time, money, and media time, because see, here's what happens. What happened the last time he brought the lawyer? He brought the White House lawyer.
Yeah, it was a smoking gun case that ended up with an acquittal.
An acquittal. And so what happens next? Mainstream media. Oh, yes, D.C. found him not guilty, nothing to see here, right? So all of a sudden, that's what they run with.
Yep.
So he says, this time, I'm not going to give him that opportunity.
I agree with you there. Don't actually bring the paperwork of the indictment itself, but bring the argument, though.
I'm going to bring the argument. I'm going to throw all the dirt out there and leave it out there and then let it just fester.
I understand that, but I'm still saying it should have gone to motive, and that part was left out. Or if it's in there, it was buried. I don't.
Yeah, I I think the motive was in there. I think it was. I just think that the mainstream media in particular ignored it. I mean, it's just not because it was on Newsmax. I've heard them talking about it, even on Fox. It depends on where on Fox. Are you still watching Fox?
No,
me either. Yeah. So, no, I think it was. I heard him saying it that basically the motive was to defeat Donald Trump in the 2020 election. I mean, that was the bottom. That was the bottom.
I heard Fox saying that.
Right.
I don't know that the report detailed and gave the evidence, including the page-struck text message that spelled out.
It was all in there.
Okay.
Yeah, that was all.
Well, there we go. Okay.
He named names, and not only that, Bruce and Nellie Orr.
Yeah,
they were also in there.
Right, and what's it, McCabe? You know, and you've got to look at, and then what Comey did. Oh, you got to include Comey.
Yeah, he did mention Comey. Yeah, he went down. He named. I mean, it's a 300 and some page deal that he went through, and but like I said, I honestly think he did the smart thing by not bringing indictments, because see, they would take years to get all of the people. We got an election coming up in a year.
Now, there's a good point. If there is a solid chance that you're going to have a legitimate administration come in, you wait till then. But I don't know where, statute of limitations comes in, because a lot of this stuff happened 7 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know either. There was something recently that they waited on the statute of limitations to run out that I just heard. So I don't know how it works, but yeah. But like I said, either way, if you know you're not going to get a conviction, then kind of make the because see, it's weird. It's really weird. I think how the media works. If the media knows there's no real punishment, immediate punishment here, they will more quickly run with a story.
I'd like to think that. I've lost faith in that too.
Yeah. So, and it can sit there and fester. And so politically, the Republicans, Trump, the GOP, whatever, can use this better than if going down the road we say, they're acquitted. Everything, nope. Jury after jury says
right.
no. Then all of a sudden you try to bring, he was found, he'd been found innocent by a jury of their peers,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That.
You see what I'm saying?
I do get that.
That's my thinking. I mean, me, who knows if I'm right or wrong.
No,
but I'm
I
just
agree.
saying that.
Because kangaroo court that just wants to rubber stamp not guilty.
Right.
Right. So here's where I'm looking at, because you saw the pathetic and despicable behavior of the Democrats at the whistleblower hearings.
Oh, my goodness.
And, truly agents of chaos, and, they're just, fully in it with the deep state. Oh, yeah. But here's something I have found out just through my own friendships and my journalism. I was talking a couple of years ago with a former federal prosecutor, a friend of mine, Gary Richardson, who ran for governor a few years ago. And Gary told how in 1981, he was appointed by Reagan, nominated by Reagan, had to have approval to become a federal prosecutor for eastern Oklahoma. And the process for that appointment meant you had to be vetted by the FBI. And the FBI set him up and was trying to make him look bad. And our newly elected freshman senator, Don Nichols, was trying to, escort this nomination through to approval. And Don was hearing from the FBI that Gary refuses to meet with them, you know, they're trying to sabotage it. And finally, a friend of Gary said, you know, you ought to get some recording devices. And Radio Shack at that time, you know, had some basic stuff. And he was supposed to meet with the FBI agent out of the Oklahoma City office. And about an hour, he was taking lunch early, getting ready for 1 o'clock appointment, I think it was. And he just decides to pick up the stuff, and he just hooks it together about 20 minutes before. And all of a sudden, he gets, you know, announcement in his law office there in Muskogee. Says, hey, you know, someone for the FBI is here. He clicks record. The guy comes in, they sit down, and they talk for like 40 minutes. And then a few days later, Giuliani calls him. Now, Giuliani at this time was working for the Justice Department, was pretty high up, was trying to get his team together. And he's like, what are you trying to do? The FBI agent said you refused to meet with him. And now, here's the thing. If an FBI agent lies in his record, he's committed a federal felony. And so Gary had the goods on him. And Gary knew that they could take him down, but he was going to take FBI people with him. Right. And once he hinted that he had a recording, all of a sudden the FBI backed off. He got through flying colors. And so that was 42 years ago.
Wow.
42 years ago. And I'm saying go all the way back to the beginning and the J. Edgar Hoover. And the FBI always was an animal of holding information that they could blackmail you with.
Well,
and they've always done this.
Well, yeah, I don't know about how far back, but you say this was what year?
That was in 81.
Okay, because I was thinking back to, for this, where they are right now, I was thinking back to 1992, 93 actually. I remember when the Clintons went in.
Yeah.
And if you will remember, Hillary.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? They fired a bunch of them. They fired a bunch of FBI agents.
Yeah.
And then Hillary got all those files. Do you remember? They took all those files in the White House, which was illegal. And I don't know why nothing ever happened. But
yeah, the guy in the basement had like 800 files on just different people in D.C., a lot of them politicians.
Right, right. And they got him, and over a weekend, I'm sure they copied all that info, and then they sent it back to the FBI, and which was totally illegal, private stuff.
Absolutely.
That never should have gone. The Clintons had all that, got all these files, and then they said, but also they cleaned house.
Yeah.
They fired all these FBI agents, and they put their own people in there.
Yes, there you go.
And some of those people are now those people that are still there, entrenched in those higher offices.
Okay, but let's remember, Hillary was promised she'd get to pick the attorney general, and she got like 2 or 3, and they both, they would just constantly not pass vetting. And then she ended up picking a county prosecutor out of Florida named Janet Reno, who's a local DA, right? And she becomes the attorney general, but she's owned by the Clintons.
Right, but I'm just sticking with the FBI right now, where we are now today.
Yeah.
With this situation, what's going on there in those hearings. But those people that are the higher ups now are, I believe, holdovers from 30 years ago.
They're career people from
30 years ago that were put in by the Clintons.
Yes.
And were hired, and some of those that are even younger are now hired by the Clintons people.
Yeah.
And that's so the whole place now. And some of those then have been added to by Obama. The Obama administration.
Yeah.
And so it's just, that's why, this is why it's so important that when a new administration comes in, I know you said there's certain people that are protected.
Yeah, the civil service protection. That's the lower level government employees.
Right. But somehow Hillary they were able to fire him. I don't know how they did it, but they fired a ton of them. And I don't know how.
Well, you can fire them for cause. I'm talking about just, at my discretion, you work here.
Right, but I don't. Yeah, but they somehow they sure found a whole lot of cause because they fired a whole lot of them.
Yeah, but I want just a real quick case in point on how the FBI uses blackmail. And you set it up well when you talked about they brought all these FBI files to the White House and got all this info.
Yeah,
over 800 people in D.C., one of which was the Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich.
Yeah.
And then Clinton is facing potentially a vote in the House investigation for impeachment. So Newt gets invited to the White House. After that visit, Newt goes silent on that whole investigation, whole impeachment. And as soon as they officially file impeachment charges and it passes a vote, Newt's sexual dalliances go public. That's how you do it. Basically, I think what happened is Clinton said, Newt, if I'm going down, you're going down with me. And Newt was no longer Speaker after 88. And that's what I'm talking about. This is the FBI information. Hear how it happens locally. Ralph Shorty, state senator.
I remember Ralph.
The Moore police totally botched an investigation and had nothing they could take Ralph Shorty out on. He had a minor boy in the hotel room with him, and the place smelled of marijuana. And the Moore police so screwed up that they had nothing. Enter the FBI. FBI had evidence of child pornography from 8-10 years ago that involved Ralph Shorty that they did nothing on. They hung on to it because this is a rising political figure in Oklahoma.
That you think they wanted to wait to see how high he got so they could control him
because
later.
They can own him that way.
Yeah.
And the FBI has an agenda.
So how did they get that?
I don't know. I mean, surveillance, who knows? Because keep in mind, and I actually have from my childhood a friend that eventually he ended up going to federal prison and dying in federal prison because he did a Napster-like torrent software deal to get software that was illegal. And the thing is, when you set up your computer, then your computer becomes a server. And where the real heavy charges come in distributing child pornography. And he got busted, and he pled on the mercy of the court, and they still gave him 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he died in there.
Yeah. Oh, listen, to say there's prison health care is a joke. They let him bleed to death, coughing up blood, and he collapsed when they made him walk a half mile to the infirmary after coughing up blood for 4 hours. And then made him walk, and he collapsed and never regained consciousness, and he died. Okay, but we're getting off a rabbit trail. But my point is, this is how the FBI likes to play their game. They have more important motives than protecting children. In fact, we found that out this week. A guy whose investigation duties were child pornography, and they took him off of that to make him go into, domestic terrorism, this whole narrative.
Didn't they make him go into the parent-teacher meetings or
yeah, that was part of his testimony too.
Right.
But so what I'm saying is the children that needed protecting, we took our resources away from that because there was an agenda that the White House had.
Right.
Oh, no. More important. Than protecting children.
See, that's what's so sick that we know, for example, on the immigration, the stuff, the trafficking that's going on right now, it's unbelievable. Thousands and thousands of girls are being trafficked. Sex trafficking that's going on with the illegal immigration that they say is not illegal. They're just letting them in. What the cartels are doing right now. On the sex trafficking, it's just shameful. And there's a new movie, by the way, that did I send you that? I think with Jim Caviezel.
Oh, I've heard something about it. Tell us.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it. I don't have it with me. It's on my phone.
Yeah, he did a documentary, right?
No, this is actual more drama. Yeah,
okay.
Drama type, and it's it looks really good. So it'll be coming out. We'll talk more about it later. But it's dealing more. I'm glad more and more, particularly Christian movies, are coming out to deal with the whole thing of trafficking. But it's almost like the Democrats just almost don't even care about the trafficking.
Eddie,
it's weird.
We elect people to office or appoint them to office to protect public safety, to protect our society, and to, maintain our republic, our free republic. But their political agenda, as radical as it is, becomes not just the most important thing, but the only thing. And this is why I'm finally hearing it catch traction, what I said 4 years ago when they first, the Mike Flynn thing came out, how he was set up, is it's time to defund, lock up, shutter, completely shut down our Justice Department. I used to say just FBI, but it's the whole Justice Department, and build a replacement from scratch. Because, look, when you've got a virus-infected computer, you never have confidence that you've totally cleaned out that computer. Right. For the sake of whatever job you need done, you go buy a fresh computer and don't share a single file from the corrupted one. You start putting in healthy stuff from scratch and investigate and make sure of everything you're putting in. That's the only way you can become productive again. Mm-hmm. And that's how it is with a federal agency. You've got to do it that way.
As far as the immigration thing goes, but see, here it's a two-pronged thing that they're doing. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's weird how they're playing this game, and I honestly really don't understand it because it almost defies logic. But somewhere, well, no, maybe I do. Okay, and Republicans aren't guiltless. Mm-hmm. Okay, the business entities. Okay. It's this feudal thing, like feudalism, if I'm not saying it right.
Sure.
Okay. Big business, they need people to work. Mm-hmm. Okay, they need workers. But at the same time, we're trying to get to zero population. So the Democrats and some Republicans, the pro-choicers, they're very much for population control. Mm-hmm. Ever since the 60s, when I was in college, I remember it was a big deal, ZPG, zero population growth, birth control, and all the way back to Margaret Sanger, birth control and abortion rights. Mm-hmm. So they don't care. Who cares if over 50% of black children are murdered every year in the womb? Over half of black births are terminated every year in America. Mm-hmm. And nobody cares, okay? Most black people don't even know.
Eddie, and that's how your black percentage of our population went from 18% to 9%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but it's growing. It's like everything else. Drugs used to be kept in the hood. Mm-hmm. And then it bled over into the suburbs. Then it became a problem. And also,
there you go.
We got to do something. We can't let our white children be addicted to drugs. It's okay. We keep it over there and in the barrio and in the slums in the ghetto. But not we can't. Yeah. So when abortion started, when all of a sudden this started coming over here, we got to do something about it. But so what's happened? So all of a sudden. Now we're at the point where our population is getting so now we're starting to realize that we're having a labor shortage. Mm-hmm. Because in a society, I don't know if you ever studied, in order to keep a society going, you got to have 2.8 births per person.
Right.
And we're down, I think we're at about 2.5 or something. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to go negative, and we're still killing babies, so we're not going to be able to survive. Yep. So what do? The way to fix that, we bring them in. Yep. And Chuck Schumer even said it. I don't know if you saw it, but Chuck Schumer actually got on TV and announced that we need these people to work.
Yeah.
That's why we're letting all these people come in from these other countries. as laborers. Basically, we want them to be our workers.
And Trump, even in his argument for the wall, he said, now listen, we're going to be able to bring in a whole lot more people in legally as we shut off the conduit here.
Right.
So, but it's got to be done orderly, he said, because there's a lot of jobs need to be
exactly done. Yeah. So and there is a truth to some of the stuff that the Democrats or the liberals would say, that the immigrants are doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. Mm-hmm. It's very true. We've become lazy. Mm-hmm. We've got a whole lazy populace that doesn't want to work anymore, and that's because we've been giving them too much free stuff. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Cut off the welfare, cut off all of the free, like what I call white man's welfare, disability payments. Mm-hmm. You got these people, I got them coming in my office. I think I've told this, I'm on disability and I'm about to collect my disability. All the disability is white person's welfare. Mm-hmm. They're too proud to say I'm on welfare because they're white.
Okay.
We've got this stigma that welfare for somebody is for black and Hispanics.
Now, Eddie, that's not to say that a guy bound to a wheelchair doesn't have legitimate cause, right?
No, right. But you know there's people, I don't know if you know or not, but let me trust me, there are people that can work, but they're coming up with, they don't want to work anymore, so they find some doctor to give them an excuse. I hurt my back. I've got this.
I understand.
In fact, I had one of my guys, he was on disability for about 5 years, and he came in one day, and he said, I'm working again. I said, really? What happened? He said, oh, man, I couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid the legitimate people really, blowing up your email box. Okay.
Well, thank you. Apologies to people who really are disabled.
Okay.
No, there are disabled people. I'm not saying there aren't any disabled people, but there are people who are using it, just like your fake workers' comp claims, and and that,
or the fake unemployment that happened during COVID. Because they even hit me up, someone I never even heard of, and I don't have employees.
Yeah, I'm getting every day, two or three calls. They want to
file a claim that you laid them off 2 years ago,
right, and then go to jail after you pay your $25,000 per person.
Yeah.
But anyway. What were we talking about? We got to chase the rabbit here.
The immigration.
Yeah, the immigration. So it's a twofold thing. So we've got the diminished natural population through birth, because we're killing all of our future laborers, our children. So what do? We want to replace them. We've got to have workers to keep our society and our economy growing and fulfill all these jobs. So we're bringing those in, and those people we bring in will work at minimum or less. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are in Europe, they call it Schwarz, in Germany, Schwarzarbeit, or black work, which under the table.
Yeah, black market is what.
Yeah, black market. Yeah,
not particularly a race-based.
No. So, everything negative is always black. When I call it white work or red work, I'm sorry, my Native American friends. But so anyway, but that's what Chuck Schumer even said it. Chuck Schumer admitted in a press conference, he says, we need these people to fulfill these jobs. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying, oh my goodness, he actually articulated it. And in that black congresswoman from, I think she's from Cleveland or somewhere, the bald-headed one. She wears wigs sometimes, but she has what's that? What is it? Apalicia or what? I can't think of the name of that.
Okay.
Where you lose your hair.
Yeah.
But anyway, she talked about it too, that we need these laborers to fulfill these basically menial jobs that we don't want to do. Yeah. And so that's that's the mentality of the Democrats. So instead of having our native born people keep our population up and cut people off of welfare and get them to work, we want to kill our future children and bring in immigrants to do that work. And I mean, the thinking though is just so weird, because eventually those immigrants are not going to abort their children, and they're going to eventually outpopulate the rest of,
there you go.
Not us, you politicians that
That's
are trying
right.
to do this, and then you're going to have a new problem because your kids aren't going to be able to keep them down.
Yeah. Now, here's another point, because the people making money, the institutions making money, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, are really getting into this because they're getting paid to process these people.
Right.
They're getting huge federal money. And with the Catholics, at least here in Oklahoma, they've seen their denomination have a huge explosion with all these Catholic families all of a sudden going to Mass.
Yeah.
You know, it just brought new life to them. So they've got legitimate motivations. I want to throw out another thing. Trump actually was part of this. I guess we could call it generally the migrant worker programs, where federal government allows migrant workers. Now, we associate that with picking their crops, right? That was happening a lot in California, bringing up migrant workers, but when it's done,
Cesar Chavez.
they go home, right? Now, Cesar Chavez was, the famous organizer of those workers' rights, but there was nobody more anti-illegal immigration than Cesar Chavez.
I know,
because it
funny.
was undermining the people that, asked him, hey, protect our rights. Now, Trump was involved in because the entertainment and recreation and, vacation.
All the hotels.
Would bring them in, and Trump would too. I'm doing some work for a family here in Tulsa that for a while had a newborn at home, fourth child, is a wealthy family in South Tulsa. They brought in a gal from South America.
Want to name names?
No. And I love my job and I love my customers. But it was all done legally. Mm-hmm. Now, here's what I want to say on this. Are they exploiting somebody?
Are these people exploited? Is that what you're asking?
Are these migrant workers being exploited?
The temporary ones.
The ones in the legal programs.
Right.
Okay.
Are they exploiting?
Are they being exploited?
I don't think so.
See, I don't either. And I'm going to put the shoe on the other foot here for a minute. My son, who's in the IT business and very successful and now working out of Manhattan, he, for a while, was being heavily recruited into Silicon Valley because to them, they could lure some great people there out of the Midwest who all of a sudden, $60,000, $80,000 annual income was a great deal until they tried to get housing on Silicon Valley, Yeah. Or let's take on an international level. If your college-age son said, hey, I've gotten an offer to go work as an intern out of Geneva, Switzerland for this summer, and I would make $30,000 a year. Well, the fact that he gets to tour Europe, Switzerland, hey, and 30,000, well, in Switzerland, 30,000 is peanuts because the cost of living is much higher in Switzerland than here. America's not the king of the hill when it comes to the most expensive place to live. There are plenty of countries that have higher cost of living than us. So I'm just, saying the whole migrant worker thing is a legitimate way to address this thing.
Oh, yeah. No, sure. It has been. See, America, there's so many alternative ways to deal with all of this than what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But what's happening here in America is we have people that are specifically bent on destroying America. I mean, that's the bottom line.
There it is.
They're
entirely different motive, isn't it?
Right. And a lot of it is just a vengeance, a hatred for their perception of America. They don't think America was founded properly. Mm-hmm. So they bought into this, so they want to destroy this country, and they have no idea for what they want the country to be. They just don't want it to be what it is. You know, does that make sense? In other words, they don't care what comes after.
Yeah.
It's like the French Revolution. The French Revolution was all about revolting against what was without any idea of what it would be.
It's what we call jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Right.
Right.
Because you know, it's one of those high frying pans.
Yeah.
So we just got to get out of here.
Yeah.
We don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah, I'll deal with that later.
Yeah, we'll deal with that. Exactly. We can't see on the other side. And that's all this is. And so much of it is based on perception, and it's perception that is being fed from outside somewhere by nefarious entities that just hate America.
Well, yeah. Now you're getting into something, because that's where the danger really is. It's not the stupid activists out on the street here. It's the people feeding them in what their motive. For instance, something that came out in Congress just recently, it was kind of said, just as assumed everybody knows this. 20 years ago, you started hearing this big scare about, fracking, you know, and how terrible it is for the environment, all the dangerous things. Now we're finding out that was a completely fictional narrative by the old Soviet Union, Russia. Russia was trying to build their oil industry, which they eventually did. But they needed the United States to be dependent on imported oil. And fracking was going to end our dependence on international oil. So they had to stir up something.
Right.
That's an example of your puppet strings. Who's the puppet master?
Yeah. And now it's China.
Right.
Now China's gotten us into it, and we've got crazy people, you know, and they've infiltrated our universities. Like, it's funny because I always bring this up. 1989, fall of the wall, the Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
The Iron Curtain was torn apart, open. Where did those communists go?
Good question.
Were they raptured? No, I don't think so, right?
Yeah. There was
Anybody ever thought of where they went? I know where they went.
Tell me.
To our universities here in America.
Yeah.
Or other places that they went somewhere. All the brain trust of the old former Soviet Union, Romania, Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, all of the former Soviet Union, the brain trust that was running the Communist Party, they went somewhere.
Yeah.
And all of the I've talked about this before, people. Communism, there's a big misunderstanding. I didn't know it until I went over and I met people that had escaped. Because until 89, it was still divided.
Oh, yeah.
I got over there in 81. Okay. I mean, I was born in Germany, but
West Germany.
West Germany. Yeah. The Bundesrepublik, not the DDR, the Democratic Deutsche Republic, the Democrat GDR, German Democratic. And funny, Democratic. All the communist countries are named Democratic. But anyway, so I met these people that had escaped, and they all told me that the way the Communist Party works is that they don't kill you anymore if you don't believe, or if you're a Christian or whatever, but you just can't get a job, or you can't go to university. And if you don't go to university, you can't get a good job. So what I'm seeing happen now is we're almost there. So they just persecute you at universities. Like, for example, a Christian can't get up and speak.
Yeah, you're right. They ghost you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like if you were to go out to TU or OU, let's say, and you want to get up and start preaching, you just want to preach the gospel on the OU campus.
Yeah.
They'll shut you down. Try it. I love some preacher to just get up and start preaching the gospel at OU. They will shut you down. You know, not Texas. My school, you name it. Just somebody wants to get up and start preaching the gospel to people. Someone will be offended, and they'll make you stop. You go out there and you want to start preaching about Black Lives Matter. You want to start preaching about communism. Oh, no problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But anyway, so what I want to just finish the point is, to get a job, to get a good job,
Yep.
to go to college, to get a good job, to get a political position, you've got to join the Communist Party. You've got to join that party. If not, the best you can hope for is to be a laborer.
No, you're right, and I want to just...
And that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
If you in the future, what I see happening, to achieve certain things, you've got to become a member of the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
You've got to buy into that line of thinking, and eventually they're going to make it so you have to buy into that to get to the university. I mean, we're headed, what I'm trying to say, if you're not headed into socialist thinking, eventually communist thinking, you won't be able to get a job. You won't be able to go to college. You won't be able to, and you don't have a degree. You won't be able to get the higher job.
So in, was it 91 that the Soviet Union officially ceased to exist? Right? It was like New Year's Eve, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden...
When Yeltsin came in.
Yeltsin became head of state. Now, he was always president of Russia, but Russia was under the Soviet Union. You get rid of that. Now, Yeltsin was
My children were in Moscow that day, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So Yeltsin, a few years earlier, famously resigned from the Communist Party right there in the forum they were meeting, and he walked out, and he got himself elected president of the Russian Republic. And, well, here's where I'm going. A couple of years ago, it was at my daughter-in-law's birthday party, a communist from Russia who was a university professor at University of Moscow. And his daughter now has come to the United States. She actually is a licensed attorney in Russia, but here she's just working at a local church and loving ministry, And this man, he goes on and on telling me how badly he hates Yeltsin. And then he went on to praise Putin. And he and I are just sitting next to each other, eating cake and stuff. And and we're using my little app translator where I'll just hit this and I'll say something and then it'll read out in Russian, and then he'll hit it and say something, it'll read out. But we had a good conversation. It was interesting to talk to a true communist. Because when he lost his job at the university, he became a police officer. That was the best job he could find. Because anything else that he was truly qualified for, he was locked out of. And that wasn't by the communists. That was by Yeltsin trying to get rid of the communist control of his state. Because, see, this is kind of the problem we have now with our deep state being so corrupted. Is what do you do with this FBI? Do you trust them back in the government? Because I think we got to shutter this, and then there's some people we can't trust them to run our government at any level if they've been part of this problem.
Okay, I'm going to flip the whole conversation. We're going to change it now from a secular to a spiritual conversation.
Good.
That's the problem we have now. That, who was it that made the statement that no society without God, I can't even, I'm trying to get this quote, is any society that does not live under the authority of God is unqualified or unprepared to live basically, I'm going to paraphrase. Okay, if you're not ready to live under the authority of God, you're ill-prepared to live in any kind of orderly manner.
That's a legitimate point.
Yeah. So, and the way I've always thought about it is this: the ultimate authority is God. If you don't believe in the authority of God, there is no authority.
Well, can I quote Bob Dylan? It might be the devil or it might be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody.
Right. Well, right. It's like the girl that once said on a T-shirt, it's a 26-year-old woman, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the problem. You see, it's who you choose to let be your boss.
Yeah.
Or not be your boss. And anarchy, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, but once you remove the ultimate authority, no authority can be a true authority.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in other words, I think we talked about Thomas Sowell and the constrained and unconstrained vision. You know, for example, you and I, we have a constrained vision because we have that ultimate idea that one day we will pay a retribution for our lives. And you got the people who don't believe that, so there's no retribution for anything, so it doesn't matter what they do.
Yeah.
They can do it. And so those two come into conflict, and you got more and more unconstrained visions. So those people are just going to do what they want to do, and it's so sad to see. And then you have the people in between that want to buy half of this and half of this. You know, well, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I don't believe some of that. You know?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
well, I don't believe that stuff.
The a la carte Christians.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe there's a God. I believe Jesus lived, but I don't. I don't believe that part of it. And never. Well, wait a minute. How can you believe any of it if you know if you don't believe all of it? You know. But I believe in the Bible, but that part of the Bible I don't believe. Well, wait a minute. If all of it's not real, then none of it can be real.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I mean, it's either all or not. You can't just pick and choose, like you said, a la carte. You can't do that. So, but that's the problem with our society today. And that's what ultimately is going to determine our future.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with getting back to your question about the FBI.
Yeah.
You cannot replace. You can't scrap the FBI, the Justice Department, whatever, and replace it with someone else, you know, a whole new entity without that entity being governed by a just and moral authority.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And where do we find that? I mean, can we find enough people to fill that new entity with that moral compass?
At some point, revolution may be the more viable solution.
Yeah, but even the revolution, who's to guarantee the revolution is pure?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, there's always a risk. Always.
No, right. There always, and that's the thing that troubles me. In other words, and I don't say this lightly. I mean, are we too far gone? This is the real question for today. Are we at that point in history?
Yeah.
Where rapture, revelation,
is
the only solution?
I don't think that's what we plan for. We know that's inevitability.
No. I understand. No, I'm not planning for it. You know, as Walter Martin used to say, I pray I'm wrong. I mean, if there is a rapture, you know, and if there is a tribulation, he always felt I'll be the first one that they'll be killing and persecuting, you know. And so if there's a rapture, I pray there is, and I'm gone.
Sure.
Know? But at the same time, we want to be prepared.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is there, like basically what you're saying, the good news, people, for Dave's part, you still have hope.
Yeah.
You still believe that carnally, it's a terrible word, carnally, in a physical sense, there's still hope for mankind. That we can civilly, I guess civil
Right.
is a better term, that there's enough honest, trustworthy people in our society to reconstruct a government
Yeah.
that would do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I'm more of the persuasion that questions that. I honestly, and I have to confess, I guess, that I honestly don't believe
Well,
we do.
You're right to not put your faith in man. Okay? Our faith has to be in God.
Mm-hmm.
And as we said, one night we were at one of our Thursday night meetings down at Siggy's with some of the friends, and one of them, when we first got there, expressed a concern that I could tell was really troubling his soul. And I just like, what's the worst they could do? Kill us all? Okay, so what? You know, it's, for me, to live as Christ and to die as gain.
Mm-hmm.
But my only objective now is, how do I be faithful till he comes? How do I be faithful till he comes for me? Because I do believe, Eddie, we're in a spiritual battle like perhaps this republic has never seen.
Oh, now we could totally agree on that.
Yeah.
Totally...
I've been studying just a little bit of what's coming out about the Jeffrey Epstein calendar. And that's been telling because...
okay, wait a minute. First, explain to people that may not know, like me.
Yeah.
What is the Jeffrey Epstein calendar?
Epstein was known for his little sexual escapades.
Well, we know Jeffrey Epstein, but what is the calendar?
It evidently was one of those bits of evidence that the Justice Department, FBI, gained access to and has as their evidence. And finally, some media, I think it was the Washington Post, who was through Freedom of Information Act, got information from it.
Was it a diary?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Epstein's own calendar. In other words, things not necessarily that happened, but that he put them on his calendar. In many of them it says, to be determined or stuff that he was hoping to have to meet with different people. Several of them were with Bill Clinton. Peter Thiel is one mentioned quite a bit.
From Apple.
No, Peter Thiel was PayPal, and he and Elon Musk actually worked together to start PayPal. And Thiel was probably the most involved in funding the Trump 2016 campaign of anyone. He gave a lot of money. Thiel has really come around to the Republican Party.
He's actually gay.
He is. Fact is, he sued and won as a result The Onion and several other medias because there was a massive judgment made against him because they outed him through things that were considered to be illegal, what they did. But anyway, Peter Thiel, who's been supporting a lot of individual liberties, maybe libertarian leaning and stuff, but he was one that had many calendar schedules. Now, does that mean that he met a lot with him, or is it that Epstein was sure trying really hard to finally meet with him? But what we see what Epstein was doing wasn't so much trying to connect with elected officials. Many people who were former elected officials and very wealthy people and high prominent educators. Dershowitz was one.
Right.
Bill Gates, oh my God, yeah, Gates and him, it was well known.
Right.
Fact is, it was when that information first came out in 19 that Melinda Gates divorced him.
Right, I knew that.
And because she knew there was something going on there, but didn't have real hard evidence. What I think is happening here, and this is conjecture on my part, Epstein served a purpose in this global effort, and I think it's a spiritual thing as well, to compromise and to destroy a lot of people. But it became something that became a tool that's potentially used against him. Blackmailing, for instance. Because Epstein was murdered in jail, the second attempt, and Bill Barr's, I'm shocked, nothing to see here, move along. You know, Epstein had to disappear conveniently before it ever went to trial. And as soon as they finished that up, they sealed all the documents that belong to the state. But at what point aren't we entitled to know these things? But I don't think we ever will.
Kind of like the Nashville shooters.
Yes. Yes, you call for a federal investigation, as G. Gordon Liddy says, to make sure the truth never comes out. You know? And some would say that, including your friend Bobby Kennedy, the Kennedy assassination thing, the Warren Commission. You know, what didn't come out may never come out, you know? So, yeah, I know I sound like a conspiracy nut, but stick with me on this. I really think that Epstein served a purpose, and when he no longer was useful, they made him disappear without any of a trace of actually what he was doing. And that, to me, is really troubling to me, because I see this as probably the biggest, most hideous, powerful force to undo our republic that we've ever seen.
Well, no, I can agree. I don't know if it's the biggest, most hideous, because there are so many gross, hideous occurrences that we've seen in the last couple of years that I can't name one, you know, above the others. I think January 6th ranks way up there. What they have done to those people.
But I think it's all part of the same thing.
Oh, no, I agree. But that's why I'm saying I wouldn't put Epstein at the top.
No, I'm not even saying Epstein is. I'm saying Epstein is a small part of what's happening right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
Is the takedown of the United States of America.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And I think the WEC is behind this.
WEF, right?
I mean, WEF, yeah.
Yeah. And then, WEF. That, and, you know, there's another shadow group called the Bilderbergers, which are meeting right now in Spain, by the way.
Yeah.
They got outed.
Everybody tries to say it doesn't exist.
Right.
What's the other name for them? There's another more nefarious name.
Well, we've heard of, you know, the
Illuminati.
Well, Illuminati.
The Illuminati.
Council of Foreign Relations that David...
I'm just saying the
David Rockefeller.
Yeah,
I'm reading an novel right now in the Illuminati. It's really interesting. Yeah. But anyway, you know, and I think this is... The WEF probably is more central a player than anything, because you just see all the tentacles have one thing in common. Are they pushing the WEF narrative?
You know what's so funny to me, though, is how Klaus Schwab, the head of the WEF, he as closely resembles Klaus, one of the Bond evil characters.
Yeah.
And even what's the comedy spoof on Bond?
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? The British agent. Oh my goodness, I can't think of his name now. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yeah. He was, you know, his accent, the way he looks, everything.
Yeah. The Mike Myers comedy.
Right, Mike Myers. Klaus Schwab fits that character perfectly to me. Yeah. he fit, you know, and
the accent, it's almost stereotypical.
I know. And he rich white guy, you know, European, and he's the puppet master basically.
Yeah.
And yet he controls these black liberals in America. I mean, it's just weird. Between him and George Soros, who's another basically European, a Hungarian, Jew. who hates Jews, which is weird. You know, I mean, it's just crazy to me.
You know, it's really funny because I watched about 8 years ago. Alex Jones was telling me, and everybody said, "You're nuts. You're just making this. That it doesn't exist. There is no such thing."
As a WEF?
Yes. And now they're saying, Alex, you're responsible for propping him up and giving him all this attention. Look what you've created. I mean, it's like Alex can't win either way.
The funny thing to me is, you know, when they were having their conference here, was it last fall or was it earlier this spring? I guess it was earlier this year when they were in Davos, Switzerland, and somebody went and took a picture at the airport. And there was just this row of like 100 of these private jets all lined up.
Yeah.
And their big thing was the environmental.
Right, because that's the big thing they're preaching, to scare the people into conformity.
Yeah, their whole meeting was about environmentalism. And it was just like 100 of these jets lined up, that each one of them, instead of just having, you know, a bunch of them get together or taking
carpool,
commercial airlines to go there.
Yeah.
No.
Or at least carpool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then they got the big Mercedes they all each drive in. And it's a bunch of hypocrites. Hey, let's finish with this because, man, this is going to be the longest one. We're almost at 3 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Woo.
Yeah.
Hey, last thing, Justice Department planned law enforcement overhaul. It closely aligns with progressive demands. Okay, so get this. Under the DOJ's new anti-discrimination guidelines, agents will be prohibited from taking into account a suspect's actual or perceived race, ethnicity, gender, nationality, national origin, religious, sexual orientation, sexual characteristics, disability status, or gender identity. So if it looks like it may have been a crime committed by any of these type of things, you can't look at that.
We won't know whether they're male or female, huh?
Black, white, Arab, Jew, Chinese, whatever. Okay, you can't look at any of that. Wow. Gay, straight, up, down, male, female. So, FBI agents and other federal law enforcement will also be limited in their ability to infiltrate foreign terrorist organizations. So, I mean, that's really smart, right? That now you can infiltrate American organizations.
Oh, of course.
But you can't infiltrate foreign organizations.
Right.
So we can't infiltrate Al-Qaeda.
But Oath Keepers is okay.
Yeah.
Or the Proud
That's what I'm saying. Or the Proud Boys. Yeah. We can, yeah. So ISIS, we can't infiltrate any of those. Nothing in foreign. Now, I'm sure there's a carve out there for some neo-Nazi organization in Germany or something if we wanted to. But no, nothing that's Islamically.
Why even have an FBI at this point? If that's how they're going to operate, they're worse than worthless.
Yeah. Agents will no longer be able to use ethnicity when developing sources within foreign terrorist organizations. I mean, can you believe this is ridiculous? Under the DOJ's proposed revisions, federal law enforcement officers will be prohibited from identifying high crime areas and using community crime statistics to identify areas for law enforcement or target. I mean, so who cares that Chicago or Detroit have had 75 murders in the first 3 months of this year? We can't use those statistics to focus on and trying to prevent the future. I mean, this is like BLM this is BLM enforcement. I mean, this is.
You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to get the reaction of a former Mossad agent what he thinks about how to run an intelligence program. Because you think Israel would ever, would they survive a minute if they followed this kind of thing?
I mean, honestly, I can see Putin,
Yeah.
you name a foreign dictator
Yeah.
that looks at this stuff.
Yeah.
And they must just sit there and they must just laugh. And I bet they're sitting around tables drinking coffee or vodka or beer or whatever they're drinking and just laugh at this stuff.
Yep.
They say, you know what? Oh, by the way, that new defense budget we were talking about, reduce it by about $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Because America's about to kill themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just sit back and watch this. You know, just instead of buying new weapons, increase the popcorn budget.
Yep.
We're just sit back and eat popcorn. I mean, this is. I mean, honestly, this is what you call the. This is what you call the suicide pact right here.
Well, we had a lot to go this week. There's just things we're not going to get into. I'm just going to rattle off machine gun things. Okay. Get on Reason Magazine and type in Gorsuch. If it's not already the headline, search it Gorsuch. He just gave something on a case, or it looks like a tent revival sermon for libertarians. Okay. Gorsuch will make you happy, folks, especially if you're libertarian. All right. The Oklahoma legislature has got one more week, but they've already declared they're starting a special session without the governor's approval. And they want to extend the tobacco compact with the tribes for 5 more years and override a veto on it so that Stitt never gets a chance to renegotiate any compact with the tribe. Okay, this is what they're doing.
Any compact?
Well, that's what, if they follow this.
Or just
this one's just a tobacco thing, right? And so that's going on.
You think it'll pass?
We'll see, but I think it's pathetic. Part of the reason they're going to a special session.
Will this just ensure that Stitt can't veto, or any governor will be?
It's for 5 years.
Oh.
So if they pass this, even if he vetoes it, the whatever bill it's attached to, if they override that, then Stitt went on press. He did a press statement yesterday. He said, they're trying to prevent me from ever getting to renegotiate any compact with the tribes. And this is for the smoke shops that undercut the rest of the retailers because they have sweetheart deals. You know, so this is a problem. And the same way the casinos is a problem. But again, this is a separate issue. So that's going on. And
let me just say this. My good friend, the late David Brumbaugh, former state rep.
Yeah.
He told me when he first got to the state house, he told me that one of the first groups to visit him was a lobbyist for the tribes.
Oh, yeah.
And they told him that they were there to let him know that they were willing to give him umpteen $1 million for his reelection. But they expected him to support this, and this.
Oh, yeah.
If he didn't do it, that they would find someone to run against him and give that person that amount of money to run against him. And that was the threat. Yeah,
and they're not the only ones. Fount Holland has an organization called CAMP. I don't know what it stands for, but they were named in an ethics committee fine of $45,000 for a PAC effort that they didn't do any filings. They ran it out of Virginia that took out Mike Ritz, Chuck Strom, about, I think there's a total of 11 people they took out that were considered too conservative and wouldn't pass a bunch of tax increases. And although Charles Kennedy was never named in it, he's keeping his mouth shut. But I know he's implicated. Okay. So anyway, but see, $45,000 is peanuts because they'll give him that back. I sent it to Representative Sean Roberts because he barely squeaked through. He was one that I think he got by 28 votes. He survived a runoff. And
The same Sean Roberts that just failed to get the
Yeah.
GOP
And Sean's a
chairman.
good friend. He represents Skiatook when he was in the legislature. And but I showed it to Sean. I said, think about it. That only cost them about $4,400 per race that they took away from conservatives.
Right, exactly.
And they decimated his platform caucus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's some evil crap going on.
yeah. So anyway, that's my state report.
All right.
Till next week.
There you go, everybody. So hey, thank you for participating in this Fresh Black Coffee.
.Coffee.
Fresh Black .Coffee.
I always got to pitch it.
Oh yeah. Hey, I want to close with the new song. There's an album. If you get a chance to look it up on YouTube, it's really good. I've been listening to it all week. There's a young man, young artist, and his name is Leland. It's actually Michael W. Smith's son-in-law.
Oh.
Yeah. Leland, Leeland is his name. Oh my goodness, come on, Eddie. I just had him here. Come on, Leland. Work with me, buddy. Anyway, and I really think you would love this album. And the name of the album is City of God.
Oh, I may have heard this.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, you really deserve to. I'm sorry for you people on YouTube because you can't hear. I'm going to play it for our other people. You can go to freshblack.coffee and watch the podcast there, and you'll hear it. But I'm going to play one song, and the name of it's "You're Not Done." Mm-hmm. And it's for people if you're feeling like things aren't going your way. Mm-hmm. This actually supports Dave's contention that if we start with the FBI all over in their Justice Department, that we have a chance of having a fresh start. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm the pessimist. Wow. This song basically speaks to us as individuals that God's not done, and that we have the opportunity for God to still work with us and save us. So anyway, we're going to finish the show with this, and I hope you guys can enjoy it, and we'll talk to you next week.
And always remember, yours is to obey God. The results are up to God.
All right.
I know you're tired. I know you're weak. And all of that fighting's got you down on your knees. You're desperate for change. Desperate to know there's a light still alive. Child, lift up your eyes, for your help draws nigh. Child, lift up your eyes. It'll be alright. Every tear you've cried, let the sunlight dry. Every tear you've cried, it'll be alright. If you still have breath in your lungs, if you still have breath in your lungs, you're not done. I'll be your strength, and I'll be your song. I'll be the solid rock you can stand on. I'm with you always. You're never alone, 'cause I'm right by started.